On Finance and Appropriations will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have a number of announcements. First, Senator DeStaff has asked that his Bill 873 be stricken. Is there a motion to do so? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 873 be stricken. All in favor, record your vote. All opposed, nay.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. Yesterday, we rather rapidly put a number of bills into a special subcommittee dealing with veterans. We inadvertently put one in we did not mean to put in. That was Senate Bill 753, Senator Reeves' bill. I would ask if someone would like us to reconsider that vote.
I would. Second.
It's been moved and second. We reconsider the vote by which Senator Reeves' 753 was put in a subcommittee. All in favor, record your vote. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, now.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. The recommendation is that the bill be reported with the clause on it. It's been moved and seconded that the bill have the clause added. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? And now, if you would like to move to report. It's been moved and seconded that the bill as amended be reported. All in favor, record your vote. All opposed, nay.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. We have, as of this morning, we had 71 bills on the docket. We have had late referrals of, I believe, about a dozen more. So, and we at most have one more meeting. So we are going to be doing many blocks, and I will be announcing some of the blocks. And on some of them, if people on the committee have an objection to something being in the block, you can ask to have it removed. Let's see. April, can you report the blocks that are proposing?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. The first block would be to report the bill, and there are several in this one. The first is Senate Bill 410.
April, if I may, the reason they're in that block is they have a minimal fiscal impact of $50,000 or less, and they have already been, the policy has already been decided in another committee. Sorry, April. Yeah. Can you do the page?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 410, Senator Hashmi's bill, is the first one. It's related to testing for Legionella bacteria in public school buildings. This came from Education and Health, 15 yes, 0 no. DOE estimated a one-time cost of $10,000. It potentially also could be absorbed. The second bill on the block would be Senate Bill 791.
Senator
April,
Norman.
can you give us the page number? You're moving quicker than I can.
I apologize. That would be page 23 in the big write-up on Senator Hashmi's bill, Senate Bill 410. The second bill, Senate Bill 791, Senator Lewis's bill, having to do with the management of menhaden fishery. That was reported from ACNR, 15 yes, 0 no. It incorporated several other patrons' bill. That fiscal impact is slightly over $100,000, but however, that is included in the introduced budget and is based on needs for federal regulations. It is an administration bill and contains an emergency clause. I don't have the page number on that one. Do you have the page number on that one? Page 31 on that one. The third bill, Senate Bill 206, Senator Peterson's bill related to the creation and establishment of Virginia Korean Advisory Board. That is on page 77 of the member write-up. That was reported from General Laws, 15 yes, 0 no, an annual cost of $10,400, which should be able to be absorbed in the existing budget on staff's opinion. Again, that was page 77. The next bill, Senate Bill 1014, Senator Ruff's bill related to the creation of an advanced production grant program. This was re-referred from Commerce and Labor, 15 yes, 0 no. It has a fiscal impact. However, it has been endorsed by the MEI Commission, and that is the practice of typically reporting those bills. And those are the 4 bills that are in the block to report. Madam Chair.
Are there any questions for
Madam Chair.
April? Yes.
Is
Senator
Senate Bill
Newman.
481 in the block on page 23? Senate Bill 481 on page 23 in the block? No?
No. Any further questions? Is there a motion to report the block?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the block be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed,
14 ayes, 0 nays.
no. 14 ayes, 0 nays. The block's reported. April.
All right, Madam Chair, the next block is to report with a clause. The first of these bills is Senate Bill 891, Senator Marsden's bill. I believe that's on page 49 of the member write-up. This concerns the regulations around animal welfare, the keeping of dogs, cats, and rabbits. It was reported from ACNR, 14 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention. It is an administration bill, and the budget contains about $95,000 per year. Again, this is the block to report with the clause. The next bill, Senate Bill 918, also Senator Marsden. This has to do with the approvals of food and ingredient regulations around that, and this relates to industrial hemp. I have that it's on page 39. I'll let Charles tell me if that's correct, since I've some dispute about the page numbers there. I apologize. This one was reported from ACNR, 15 yes, 0 no. It incorporated Senator Ruff's bill, Senate Bill 827. The introduced budget contains roughly about $100,000 general fund the first year and $86,000 the second year. That's also an administration bill and contains an emergency clause. The next bill, Senate Bill 304, Senator Stanley's bill. On page 77, that relates to euthanasia rates in animal shelters, also general fund impact of about $95,000 per year. And staff suggests that that is not an additive cost, that the cost that's in the introduced budget would cover several of those bills. The next bill, Senate Bill 306, Senator Stanley's bill related to the destruction of information for certain charges and convictions around criminal history. This was reported from the Judiciary Committee, 13 yes, 0 no. It has a fiscal impact of about $1.3 million per year and some one-time costs as well. That one is on page 77. Moving to the next bill, Senate Bill 310, also Senator Stanley. This one has to do with a notice to euthanize from public animal shelters, also coming from ACNR at 15 yes, 0 no. That one is on page 79. Again, about a cost of $95,000, and again, staff reports that that was not additive. The last bill in this block, Senate Bill 534, Senator Vogel's bill. This has to do with a Hope Card program, which expands an existing pilot. A Hope Card is a laminated card, approximately the size of a credit card, and is given to someone who has essential information about a protective order. That's on page 70, I believe. And it was reported 14 yes, 0 no from Judiciary. And again, that completes that block, Madam Chair.
Are there any questions about this block? Is there a motion on the block? It's been moved and seconded the block be reported. All in? Yes. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay. So I'd accept an amendment. Okay. It's been moved and seconded the clause be put on all these bills. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Now it's been moved to report as amended, and I think I heard a second. All in favor, please record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. The bills are reported. We have one more block. April.
Madam Chair, I'm going to read these one at a time to enable, again, for somebody to pull them out of the block. This block would be to carry over the bills. The first of these is Senate Bill 234. This is Senator Chafin's bill having to do with the Department of Human and Resources Management, health insurance for local board employees. That is on page 11. That has an unknown impact on state premium costs, and the recommendation was to carry that over. The next bill, Senate Bill 363, Senator Donovan's bill, the recommendation would be to carry it over. That is on page 17. And that one will likely be dealt with in budget language in lieu of a bill. Senate Bill 367 relates to the Department of Education's ability to do an individualized system on student growth measurements. That one was reported from Education and Health, 15 yes, 0 no. It has a cost of almost $2 to $2.5 million per year, and the DOE is currently in the middle of developing a similar system. The recommendation was to carry over. Senate Bill 779 is the next bill, Senator Lewis's bill. What page is that one? That was reported from Rules, 15 yes, 0 no. This has to do with a sixth grade science curriculum. The recommendation is to carry over, but the cost could be absorbed at DOE and would potentially be budget language. Page 30 on that one. Page 30, sorry. The next bill, Senate Bill 880, Senator Locke's bill related to school counselors with minimum staffing ratios, reported from Education and Health, 11 yes, 2 no, with an impact of $21.2 million in 21 and about $78 in 2022. With some funding included in the introduced budget, it's anticipated that that would be handled in the budget. Page 40. The next bill, Senate Bill 854. This is Senator Peterson's bill related to the Virginia Urban Agriculture Advisory Council and a report. That one has an impact of $23,000 per year. That was reported by ACNR, 14 yes, 0 no, and establishes a 23-member advisory council, and that also potentially could be handled in the budget. Page 67. The next bill, Senate Bill 863. Related to Senator Pillion's bill. This one was heard on a previous day. This has to do with the lease of a portion of property to Smith County. Staff has checked with DGS, and there's some additional issues around defeasance of bonds, et cetera, and some lease issues also potentially could be handled in the budget, however.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
related to
Page
that bill
68.
specifically, had a conversation, I think it would be in order perhaps to consider putting some language in the budget to deal with our surplus properties, not only dealing with there potentially, but also Southwestern Training Center in Hillsville and the potential disposition of the property in Madison Heights. So I would hope that we can address that in the budget to have something moving forward to work into the disposition of those properties.
Yes, thank you, Senator Hanger. I agree with you. And I hope we get the language in. Yeah.
Okay. Continuing on this block, the next bill, Senate Bill 863, I apologize, we did that one. Senate Bill 510, Senator Reeves' bill, having to do with the definition, misbranding, and prohibitions around the definition of milk. That was reported from ACNR, 10 yes, 5 no. It has an unknown fiscal impact. Page 69 on that one. The next bill, Senate Bill 1064, Senator Stewart's bill. This relates to combined sewer overflow outfalls, and this potentially in the James River watershed. The introduced budget includes money for an Alexandria CSO project. This is also something that could potentially be handled in the budget, and that is on page.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
which bill was that?
The Senate Bill 1064.
Dealing with
80.
the outfalls in Richmond?
Yes.
Okay, was there money attached to that particular bill, or was that just a statement of policy?
I'm going to ask Jason to describe that in more detail.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, Senator Hanger, Senate Bill 1064 would direct the city of Richmond to come into compliance with federal regulations by 2027. In the past, The Commonwealth has provided $45 million to the city of Richmond, $30 million to the city of Lynchburg, and potentially $90 million to the city of Alexandria for combined sewer overflow programs. There is no direct funding tied to the bill, but there is a potential out-year cost to the Commonwealth.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator
I would
Hanger.
hope that we could pull that one out of the block and at least have a little bit of discussion about that potentially.
Without objection, we'll take it out of the block.
Senate Bill 1064. All right, Madam Chair, the next bill is Senate Bill 557. This is Senator Vogel's bill related to electric sign indicators on US Route 17. This says there is a cost of about $45,000 to VDOT. The recommendation was to carry that over. Page 84. The next bill, Senate Bill 327, Senator Lewis's bill related to the cost of competing adjustment eligibility. That one was suggested to carry over and to have staff look at that in the interim. The next bill, Senate Bill 1033, dealing with juvenile correction centers and facilities. This is Senator Locke's bill. That has a cost of up to $156 million in debt, tax-supported debt, and $90 million in operating costs and beyond. I believe the patron is also considering other suggestions, but the recommendation was to carry that over and have staff work on that in both the Public Safety and Capital Outlay Subcommittee. Page 41. And that's the last of those in that block, Madam Chair. We've got one more that would have to go to a letter by another commission.
Okay. Are
Madam
there any
Chair,
questions on these? Yes, Senator.
Madam Chair, I'd
Vogel.
like to request that Senate Bill 557 come out of the block, and then I'll offer an explanation.
Okay.
We made a revision to that bill.
Without objection, that will
Thank
come
you.
out of the block. Okay. This is the block to carry over until next year. Is there a motion on it? Been moved and seconded that this block of carryovers be reported, I guess. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays. Now we can go back to First Senator Stewart's bill, Senate Bill 1064.
Madam Chair, may I speak to it?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No disrespect to Jason, but that's not what the bill does. The bill requires them with DEQ to identify what needs to be done and to start construction. And they have a total amount of time to do that within 7 years. It does not attach any money to it. The General Assembly has given money to the city of Alexandria to assist them, and they gave about $45 million to Richmond 2014, I believe it was. But the issue we have is they're dumping nearly 2 billion gallons of raw sewage into the James every year, and that's been over the last 5 years. In 2018, it was 3.5 billion gallons of raw sewage into the James. If you're signed up for the notifications, they just sent one out. This email is to inform you that enough rain has fallen to trigger combined sewer overflow. Wait for 30 hours of no rain before you get near the river. Madam Chair, we're not in a third world country. And I'm not sure why this bill came here. I have my suspicions because it was voted on almost unanimously in agriculture, but there's no financial impact. And the most distressing thing about this is Mayor Stoney in his budget for 2020 has put like $3 million in it to address this. 13.5 billion gallons of raw sewage going into the James River in the last 5 years alone. It is a public health crisis, not just for the city of Richmond, but for all of those localities downstream. And I hope that you all will keep this moving. I'm working with the city to determine, ultimately our goal is to come up with what time frame they can figure out what needs to be done, and we can push this forward. But It's something we need to act on now.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
if I could speak to this, I think there are sections of this bill which are prescriptive, which would, in fact, cause the city of Richmond and perhaps us, in fairness to the other CSOs that we've worked with, to do money. I would think that if we look at the bill, the first through line 18 simply requires the owner-operators DEQ should determine what actions be necessary to bring it into compliance. And if we were to delete lines 19 through 29, then it would not be prescriptive, and it would still allow the process to move forward. You get the information you would need, and then you could come back after that with any other prescriptive action that might seem to be necessary. Follow what I'm saying, Madam Chair?
Well, Madam Chairman, I'll take whatever I can get out of this committee to
Okay.
keep
Madam
the
Chair, I would
process
move
going
that we
forward.
delete lines 19 through 29.
It's been moved and seconded that lines 19 through 20, I'm sorry, didn't you? 29.
Then, Madam Chair, that leaves us with a Section 1 bill that would require DEQ and the City of Richmond to evaluate what it would need to bring them in compliance. And I would move that we report the bill as amended.
Did we pass the amendment? I don't, no, we didn't pass the amendment.
I move the amendment, Madam Chair.
Okay. It's been moved in second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now,
I move the bill be reported as
it's been
amended.
moved that it's been moved and seconded. The bill be reported as amended. Senator Evan.
Yeah, briefly. I would just ask Senator Stewart, are you aware of what their federal plan is to keep in compliance with the federal government? Have you researched that at all?
Madam Chair, I am. They have no plan. Right now, they could go on the way they are for 100 years.
Okay, thank you.
They're
Chair.
operating
Yes.
under consent decree that allows that.
Senator Newman.
Well, that was my question. Their consent agreement is endless.
It is endless, Madam Chair.
It's different than Lynchburg, so
Madam Chair, in response to that, Lynchburg is nearly finished. They got a little bit of money. They are nearly finished. They've done everything they're supposed to do, and Alexandria will very soon be completed, and Richmond is the largest one dumping in right now.
I don't want to.
Senator Evan.
I don't want to belabor this, Madam Chair, but I just do want to defend Richmond in one sense. When I looked into this, Richmond, and I think Lynchburg too, had more outflows than the 4 that Alexandria had, and that Richmond has a large problem and may not have the budget to deal with it as quickly as we might want. I'm not saying that it's rightful to dump that in the river, and I don't know what happened with the federal government with their agreements, but under this administration, but that's just kind of what it is. I just wanted to share that information.
That's correct. Madam Chair, Richmond has about 25 outflows going into the James, and I think Alexandria had 4 or 5. Alexandria was 300 million gallons a year, which sounds like a lot. Richmond in 1 year did 3.5 billion with a B gallons of raw sewage going into the river.
Okay. Further questions? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The bill is amended. Be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of
Thank
the
you.
committee.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported. Now we had Senator Vogel's bill, Senate Bill 557.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaking to that bill, we addressed the issue that was the concern of the Department of Transportation, and that was the fiscal impact. We were trying to zero out any fiscal impact so that the bill could survive, and we deleted the last 2 or 3 lines that refer to the fact that if the county didn't pay for the signs, then VDOT would be required to pay for the signs. And so we removed that. So the county board of the supervisor came and said the county intends to pay. But what we removed was the language that said if the county didn't, then it defaulted back to VDOT. So we hope we zero that out, and that would then no longer be an issue.
Is that a proposed amendment? Or
No,
it's
that
what?
happened in.
That already happened?
Yes,
Okay,
and
I
Senator
didn't see that.
Newman was in transportation, could probably also back me up on that.
Okay, okay. That does change the status.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded, the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays, the bill's reported. Does that complete our blocks?
Madam Chair, that does complete the blocks. There are also there were on the late referrals, there was also the possibility for the staff to do a quick description, since there is not as much of a time to brief the members on those bills, if you would like.
Okay, that would be helpful, thank you.
So I think the first of those would be the late referrals from the Judiciary Committee, and I believe that would be Adam and Mike. And that agenda starts, if you look at your agenda, that'll start on page 5. You'll see all the bills, and they'll be going in order with that they're listed on the agenda. And it'll be on the blue sheet of paper for your late referrals.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So starting with SB 326, that is Senator Deed's bill, and that would provide that a jury may, in ascertaining the punishment for a person convicted of a felony or Class 1 misdemeanor, recommend the sentence imposed be suspended in whole or in part, or that multiple sentences served concurrently, except when it's prohibited by law. There was a fiscal impact statement prepared for the bill as introduced. However, the substitute eliminated the provisions of the bill that would have potentially necessitated these increased services and costs, and so there's no anticipated fiscal impact at this time.
Been moved and is it seconded? And seconded that 326 be reported. All in favor, record your vote.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays, the bill's reported. Oh.
So now moving on to SB 511, that is Senator Edwards' bill. And that would provide that a person convicted of a felony or who's adjudicated delinquent by a circuit court for an offense that would be a felony if committed by an adult may petition for a writ of actual innocence based on biological evidence or non-biological evidence, regardless of the type of plea he entered at trial. And there's a fairly substantial fiscal impact associated with this to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, and the Office of the Attorney General related to an increased number of the writs of actual innocence filed by the petitioners. Most of this is related to ongoing staffing costs for the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, as well as the OAG, and then there's an indeterminate fiscal impact to the criminal fund associated with that.
So the fiscal impact is 1.6 million at least each year.
Yes, ma'am. And that would reflect the staffing costs for the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. And then there is an indeterminate fiscal impact to the criminal fund as well.
Okay, it's been moved that we add the clause. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded that we add the clause. All in favor of adding the clause, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, is there a motion? It's been moved, and is there a second?
Second.
And seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, record your aye. Opposed, nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. Bill's reported.
All right, so now moving on to SB 513. This is Senator Edwards' bill, and it would repeal the requirement for DMV to suspend an individual's driver's license for drug offenses, non-payment of fees owed to a local correctional facility, a regional jail, and shoplifting motor fuel, and it would remove the requirement for that the court impose an additional 50 hours of community service if the court does not suspend or revoke the accused's license for a drug-related offense. And there is a fiscal impact in terms of the license reinstatement fee revenues for DMV of about $230,000 in the first year, and then an impact to the trauma fund of $512,000 in the first year. And these amounts are anticipated to grow to $374,000 and $830,000 for the license fees and the trauma fund, respectively, moving forward.
Are there questions about the bill? Is there an amendment to the bill?
Move the clause.
The clause has been moved and seconded. All in favor of the clause, please say aye. Aye, opposed? Okay, is there a motion on the bill then? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 513 be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
14 ayes, 2 nays.
14 ayes, 2 nays, the bill's reported.
So now moving on to SB 723, this is Senator McClellan's bill, and it would require the Department of Criminal Justice Services to collect data from courts and state and local law enforcement and corrections agencies and to create a uniform reporting mechanism with respect to such data collected for the purpose of informing bail determinations made by judicial officers. And this also has a fairly substantial fiscal impact related to the one-time and ongoing costs for the Office of the Secretary of the Supreme Court to convert its electronic systems from charge or case-based to defendant or individual-based systems. And then depending on the degree of the system changes required for the bill, it could be anywhere between, according to OES, $900,000 to $15 million, just depending on how the bill is interpreted about the data that is coming in and then would have to be disseminated out to various local and state agencies. There are some staffing costs as well, and then there's an indeterminate cost for the Compensation Board to modify its inmate case management system as well.
Okay, are there any questions on this bill? Is there an amendment?
I'll move the clause.
It's been moved and seconded the clause be added. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Clause is added.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
I would ask maybe someone from the Courts Committee, maybe Senator Edwards, if this was something that was, they voted it unanimously, but I was wondering if they just passed it to us without a lot of consideration, if it's something they really want to do, because it's got a high cost, whether we should even consider it this year or carry it over.
Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards.
it's the data collection that's important. So the answer is yes, we do want to do it. The data is important.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Report is amended.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, record your vote. Aye.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays, the bill's reported as amended.
So moving to SB 806, this is Senator Morrissey's bill, and it would allow a defendant or his attorney when the defendant is charged with a felony offense or a Class 1 misdemeanor and is determined to be indigent to move the circuit court to designate another judge in the same circuit court to hear an ex parte request for the appointment of a qualified expert to assist in the preparation of the defendant's defense. So under current law, those qualified experts are only granted in cases where the indigent offender is charged with a capital offense. And there's no fiscal impact statement available. There's an indeterminate fiscal impact to the courts for additional court-appointed expert services to indigent offenders, given that it's broadening the number of offenders that would be applicable to receive those services.
Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I would suggest this is going to have some fiscal impact, and it could be significant, but it's also important because these issues, technical issues come up in a lot of criminal cases that aren't capital, and indigent defendants have no way to get experts. And so this is something that I think we ought to be able to consider. I'd move the clause on this if we're going to consider it.
It's been moved and seconded that we add the clause to Senate Bill 806. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, clause is added. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. The bill is reported.
All right, now moving to SB 818. This is Senator Morrissey's bill, and this actually has no fiscal impact. It's just codifying existing practice of the Supreme Court of Virginia, so there is no cost associated with the bill.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Been moved and seconded, the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye, opposed nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported. Adam.
All right, so SB 930, Senator Stewart's bill. This also has no fiscal impact. This would direct the Secretary of Health and Human Services to convene a work group.
If there's no fiscal impact, is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. The
Seconded.
bill be
Report.
reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported.
All right, now SB 640, Senator Surville's bill, and this would create a process by which an unlawful detainer actions filed in general district court that have been dismissed or non-suited may be expunged upon the request of the defendant to such action. This bill has a delayed effective date of January 1, 2022, and the fiscal impact statement was written to the bill as introduced. So there's the one-time cost of $299,000. That's for the Supreme Court related to the systems changes they would make to accommodate the expungements, but I will say that that's the same cost they've put on every expungement bill. So if you were to pass one, then you would accommodate all of the bills that have that particular piece of system modification for the courts. And there were some staffing costs, but the substitute bill actually removed the provision that would have necessitated, it would have required the clerk of the court to physically destroy records of unlawful detainer action, so that probably mitigated most of the cost as well. So I would say at this point, the one-time costs associated with this that's consistent with all the other expungement cases, and then a smaller indeterminate cost to the general district courts for satisfying whatever they need to do with respect to expunging those records.
All right, but these are not under the $50,000 we had done in the block.
I don't, it was too hard to say, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion on this?
Move the report.
Do we need the clause?
Yeah, move-
Okay, it's been moved that the clause be added. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now the bill itself.
Move the report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 640 as amended be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam
16
Chair.
ayes, 0 nays. Thanks, Adam. Now we have some recent bills that have been sent up from Education and Health today.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have the first two on the list.
Okay?
First one is Senate Bill 764 by Senator Parker. This is a longer bill. It makes a variety of revisions to the Certificate of Public Need program. Including in that is it removes from the list COPN lithotripsy, magnetic source imaging, nuclear medicine imaging. It removes, changes the definition of project introduction to remove new lithotripsy, magnetic source imaging, or obstetrical service for facilities that have never provided or have not provided the previous 12 months. Creates a new registration process for projects, renames the state medical facilities plan, modifies the application and provisions of the review process in a variety of ways, directs the Department of Health to develop recommendations to reduce the duration of the review cycle, and also directs the Secretary of Health and Human Resources to implement a digital system for tracking the application and everything associated with it. It has other provisions that Senator Barker could elaborate if I missed any important ones. It does have a fiscal impact of about $800,000 in the first year, $300,000 the second one going.
Is there a motion, suggested amendment?
Yes, I move that we put on the clause.
It's been moved. Is there a second that we put on the clause?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We put on the clause. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Clause is added. Now on the bill.
And with that, I'd move that we recommend reporting with the amendment that has been added to it, and we can deal with sort of looking carefully at all the costs within the subcommittee. So.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 764 as amended be reported. All in favor, please record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, so the next bill is Senate Bill 902, also by Senator Barker. So this bill deals with pre-admission screening for Medicaid long-term care services. It basically makes some changes related to, some of the primary ones are related to actually people being discharged from acute care hospitals as well as nursing homes. Basically designates that staff in nursing homes with acute care hospitals should be done the pre-admission screening, but also has a process that if they're not done in a timely manner, that other DMAT staff will do this. Pretty much it can all be absorbed within very minimal impact that can be absorbed within the department's budget, so it has no fiscal impact. There is a technical alignment where we have to add a comma. We have to strike the board and add a comma.
Would someone like to move the technical?
I will move the technical amendment.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the comma, please say aye.
Aye.
No. Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded? And seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, record your vote aye, opposed nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 902 is reported.
Next bill is Senate Bill 619, Senator Deeds bill. This requires local school boards to implement a mental health awareness training and require employees to complete the training once every 10 years. It requires the Department of Education to provide a mental health awareness training to divisions. There is no fiscal impact statement posted for the substitute version of this bill, so any state or local costs are potential.
Okay. In that case, is there a motion on the bill?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 619 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye, opposed nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, so the next bill is Senate Bill 568 of Senator Donovan. So this again, this one deals with Medicaid. The original bill had been dealing with deals with the pharmacy benefits in Medicaid. You're well aware of all the discussion about PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. The bill was amended so that it actually requires that they use the pass-through model, which is basically they use the managed care companies in Medicaid would use their pharmacy benefit managers. They would just pay them an administrative fee to administer the benefit. Based on the pharmacy report that was just completed this past fall, it indicated that model would generate about $4 million in general fund savings per year to the Commonwealth. So with that, that is a fiscal impact.
Okay. So it's a positive fiscal impact.
Yeah.
Is there a motion on the
Move to
bill?
report.
It's been moved. Is it the second?
Second.
And seconded that Senate Bill 568 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Yeah.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 910, Senator Hashmi's bill. This relates to the ratio of teachers for English language learners. This modifies the standard to require 20 full-time equivalent instructional positions for each 1,000 English proficient students. The introduced budget includes the funding necessary for this required staffing standard.
Okay, is there an amendment?
Move the clause.
Clause has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
given what's written here, that there's money in the budget, do we need the clause in this particular situation?
Senator Hanger.
Madam Chair, due to the size of the amount needed, it may be that we might hit some middle ground there. We may not want to extend that much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would think the clause would be appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor of the clause signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 910 be reported as amended. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 728, Senator McClellan's bill. This modifies the standards of quality based on the Board of Education's 2019 revisions to the standards of quality. It includes funding for increased assistant principals, early reading initiative, elementary school principals, English language learners, an enhanced at-risk add-on fund, school counselors, specialized student support personnel, a teacher leaders and mentors program, a principal mentorship office at DOE, and a work-based learning office at DOE. This has a significant financial fiscal impact with the additional state cost of $497 million in fiscal year 2021 and $435 million in fiscal year 2022.
Is there a motion on? It's been moved, and is there a second? And seconded that the clause be added? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved, that
Second.
the bill as amended be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator
16
Hammond.
ayes, 0 nays.
Excuse me, it was reported, but I just wanted to caution us that clause might need to be amended as such, because that's a big amount of money. If we put any amount in there, we may trigger that bill. So that, I would think we better watch that one.
We watch it, okay. Okay, our next bill,
The next bill is Senate Bill 1080, Senator Morrison's bill. This is how the urban fund, and this provides student loan repayment grants to individuals employed in urban school divisions with teacher shortages, as long as they remain employed in the school division for 5 years. Fiscal impact statement, the Department of Education estimates an annual cost of $18,000 to administer the program, and any funding for the grants would be as appropriated.
so if I'm understanding correctly, this is under our $50,000. Yes, okay. So I don't believe this will need the clause. Is there a? It's been moved the bill be reported. Is there
Second.
and seconded?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a question. So it was a relatively small amount to administer, but does that mean, I don't know where the money comes from to put it in, that we just do that in the regular budget process? Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye.
The next bill is Senate Bill 841, Senator Peterson. It states that it is the sense of the General Assembly that George Mason University should be encouraged to take steps to investigate and pursue the potential of establishing a medical school in the Northern Virginia area. The university indicates that they have private funds that would be used for the cost of feasibility study. But going forward, there certainly is a potential that there could be some asks of the state in terms of support.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
This bill was heard in Education Subcommittee, Higher Ed Subcommittee, and President Holton made a presentation. We are looking at private funding partners. It's important for us to get the state's imprimatur that they're at least interested in this before we can proceed further. So there's no money attached to this. It's a Section 1 bill. But we do believe it would be helpful as at least seeing if there's the ability to move this forward.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill? It's
Move
been
to
moved.
report.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye. Opposed, nay.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 1087, Senator Pillion's bill. This creates the school construction fund and program to be administered by DOE. It also establishes the guidelines for how DOE can issue grants to school divisions based on conditions. There's a low fiscal impact to DOE to administer the program, and then any funding for the grants would be as appropriated.
Okay, this is also a very low $15,000. Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. The bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays, the bill's reported.
Next bill is Senate Bill 462, Senator Reeves. It provides that a child of an active duty member or veteran who has submitted at least 10 years of Virginia income tax returns during active duty service and who claims Virginia as their home state would be eligible for in-state tuition at public institutions of higher education. The fiscal impact from tuition revenue loss for the institutions is indeterminate. The patron did submit a budget amendment as an estimate toward that amount, but the specific amount would not be known.
Is there an amendment on the bill?
The clause?
Been moved, is there a second? And seconded, we add the clause. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved, is there a second to report? Senate Bill 462. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, record your vote aye.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 noes, the bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 128. This is for a pilot program at the Department of Education for school divisions to study the feasibility of transitioning students in private school settings to an appropriate public school settings and looking at sources of funding for those students. DOE estimates a state cost of $88,000 each year to support the pilots with consultants and annual stakeholder meetings. And I would remind the committee that we've seen previous bills dealing with private school settings, and I remind the committee JLARC is studying CSA and special education this year.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
we have had two previous bills. Senator Peake had one, and Senator Stewart had one, and the disposition of those was to carry it over with a letter to the JLARC study that we're working on. So I would move that the bill be carried over with that understanding.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be carried over till next year. All in favor, record your vote aye.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays, the bill's reported. Carried over, sorry.
Madam Chair, so the next bill is Senate Bill 937, Senator Surville. So this creates the Candidate Scholarship Pilot Program within the Virginia Community College system. So it would provide up to $4,000 per year for the cost of attendance, so for tuition, books, but also includes transportation, living expenses. For up to 200 students, and it would require $800,000 in Candidate block grant funds each year.
Is there a suggested amendment?
Move the clause.
It's been moved and seconded the clause be added. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Senate Bill 937 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported. I believe there's one more.
Yes, this is the last one, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1040, Senator Vogel's bill. This authorizes the city of Winchester to compensate its school board members with an annual salary not to exceed $4,500. According to the fiscal impact, the cost is indeterminate because any cost associated with this increase would show up in the estimate.
They meet once a year or what?
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor of Senate Bill 1040, record your vote aye.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. While we were going through all of this, I remembered that we were supposed to pass by for the day 3 bills dealing with peer-to-peer vehicle sharing. And those bills would be Senate Bill 750, 749, and 735. Without objection, we'll pass them by for the day. 735. We were planning to do the gaming bills next, but are they here? The substitutes weren't here last. He is here, okay. Okay. If we could start with Senator Barker's bill, Senate Bill 199.
199.
Okay, give it to Barker, yeah.
All right, we have Senate Bill 199 here, and there is a substitute for that.
Do we have the substitute?
Connor, do you have the substitute for 199?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
It was a few days, it was like last week, I think. That we were, that's when.
Was it already heard?
No, no. No,
All right, we'll pass by the gaming bills for a minute.
yes. I went through my aide, Dave. You can check with him.
We
see.
could do that.
No, Dave's
the bag
in
bill.
my office. And
But I don't have numbers in front of me.
yeah, we could do that.
Evan, no. While we wait for the substitute, Senator Evan, would you like to do Senate Bill 11? Which we have heard multiple times.
I'll be
and
quick.
We are not going to be taking any more testimony on it.
Yes, this is the bag bill, and when we left here, I think there was agreement among a majority of the committee that there would be a 5-cent fee imposed on plastic bags at grocery stores, convenience stores, and drugstores. And there's a substitute that was drawn up, I believe, that covers a statewide fee. And I would move the substitute.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman,
the
would like to see
substitute
it?
really matters. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we're here, so.
Yeah, let's just
Statewide.
hold for just a minute.
Who wants?
We've been going fast, but I do think on some of these bills, it's nice if you have a chance to at least look at the substitute.
Jason, do you have another copy? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if there are questions or if you want me to move the bill.
All in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
I believe the ayes have it.
Madam Chair, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Newman.
I'm not sure if we're on the substitute or not, but when we were here last time, there was discussions about, one, we talked about Planning District 8, and then we had a discussion about Planning District 8, and then any locality that wanted to opt in. And I have a pretty strong desire to see us think about that, if that's something that we could incorporate into the substitute.
I agree.
Senator Evans.
I brought a Plan B, if that's easier if the chair would prefer.
That would be to have local option, but Senator Peterson and I were hoping, and we discussed that last meeting, I thought that was the vote, to have it statewide.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
I'm going to try and not fold like a plastic bag on this one.
Okay.
And my recollection is we actually had a discussion and took a vote and decided to go with the statewide option. I'm not saying it's going to be so I would prefer just to at least go up or down with this one.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman.
I just don't think that's what we did vote on Planning District 8, but we did not vote on Planning District 8 plus a local option, which some, Charlottesville and some others may didn't want to do. And Madam Chair, this is one of those bigger deals. I think it is a big policy item. I would hope that we would keep the Planning District 8 and local option, and without too much objection, I would so move for that amendment.
Second.
Senator, if I might ask, Senator Evan, your second choice substitute, is that basically that, or is it, would be nice if it was
Did
written?
you say Planning District 8 and local options? That would be fine. Either way, well, I mean, my first choice was an up or down vote, as Senator Peterson said. That's what we discussed last time, and I don't know what the committee prefers. We had voted on that, and this is the substitute that, in writing, says what we had discussed. It was kind of a quick discussion at the end, but we had voted on that.
Madam Chair, you know,
Senator Edwards.
I strongly believe that if we can do this, let it be in Planning District 8, and then other localities can opt in if they want. A lot of people don't want to do this. And I'm really concerned that all we're doing is making more inconvenience to consumers, who often are referred to and occasionally as voters. And I think what we're doing, we need to get rid of plastics, but what we ought to do is outlaw plastics. The industry created the problem, and the industry can deal with the problem and solve the problem by coming up with something other than plastics. They will do it eventually. And it's a matter of, let's just get them to do it. If they think they need to raise the prices of groceries, that's fine. But don't just put a tax on consumers. This is the worst way to do it.
I would suggest that we have an up or down vote on the amendment in the nature of a substitute for Senate Bill 11 that has been handed out.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor
Madam Chair,
of the...
Parliament, are we going to then come back to the amendment?
We will
to
then
change
come
it?
back to the second substitute.
Second, in other words, Madam Chair, just to understand
Yeah.
that we're going to put the substitute on, and then the amendment that I moved, we will consider after that. Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Once we adopt the substitute?
Yeah, then we're going to come back.
No, I'm sorry, now I'm confused. And I know this is an important bill.
This is the substitute.
The substitute, that we have now the 121 substitute in front of us. Your second substitute is or is not what Senator Newman is talking about? Because I haven't seen your second substitute.
Well, this is what we want, but the second one was local option, which would serve the same effective purpose if people would adopt.
Senator Norman.
Substitute.
I'm certain that due to my limited intellectual capacity that I'm the only one that's confused up here. But the most important thing is that I think our Senate finance staff is struggling a little bit. And is there any reason we can't pass this by for the day?
Well, this is, sir, with all due respect.
Senator
and
Evan.
If it's passed by for the day, it's passed by for the day. But we had discussed this at length, and I thought that we had voted at the end of the last meeting for this. But I'll defer to, your judgment.
Madam Chairman, I
Senator
respect what
Norman.
he's saying. I was not necessarily expressing my opinion. The Senate finance staff is a little confused about what we're trying to do, and they'd like the opportunity to unravel it.
Madam Chair. What's confusing? The bill's right here.
Senator Zaslaw. Charles.
Madam Chair, I think staff has a good understanding for the substitute that's before the committee. Staff does not have a good understanding for the amendment to the substitute that would impose the tax only in certain areas of the state. And I think staff would prefer that if that amendment is adopted, that the bill go by for the day.
Just by for the day.
Okay, let's pass this by for the day.
Oh, my God.
And I would hope since we're virtually out of time, that everyone with a concern about this on the committee would talk to staff about this.
Madam Chair, were we at least going to take a vote on adopting this substitute, so we can at least have it in front of the committee?
No,
We're not even going to do that. Okay.
no, we're going to see if staff can work out what the options are. Okay. So the gaming bills are not here? No. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go to the patrons. Okay, we have some patrons here who are not on the committee, so we will go to them. It may be that we have already dealt with your bill in one of the blocks, so we'll find out, okay? The sign up for Senator Reeves.
Madam Chair, I think I had one bill left in here. I think it's Senate Bill 1052. Has to do with charitable poll tabs. And there was one amendment that we took up in the committee.
That is one of the gaming bills, so we're
It's
putting
scooped up.
those off until we get all of the information, all the bills, sorry.
Okay.
Senator Chafin? It's gone. Senator Lewis?
Apparently, I have a number of them, Madam Chair. I don't know how that happened, and it will never happen again.
Thank you. But we did pass a number of your bills.
I
so-
think I made a list. I think the ones I
Okay.
have are ones that didn't go anywhere yet. Do you want me to start, or do you want to?
Yeah, please.
I've got Senate Bill 320, Virginia Community Flood Preparedness Fund. And I don't have a fiscal impact on it, so I don't know if there is any. There shouldn't really be any. And simply what this bill did, Madam Chair and members of the committee, is reconstitute the Virginia Coastal Resiliency Act that we passed a few years ago and renamed it, was the Virginia Shoreline Resiliency Act. We renamed it the Virginia Community Flood Preparedness Fund. We changed the language a little bit to make clear what was its original intent, but to make doubly clear that it applied Commonwealth-wide to frequently flooded and recurrently flooded areas. And we also put in a loan forgiveness. It is still a revolving loan fund, but there is a forgiveness provision in there to allow forgiveness of loans for economically distressed areas when loans are made. Currently, there is nothing in the fund. We have the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which directs some of its funding profits from the sale of allowances will go in there, but currently it is an unfunded fund.
Okay. Does everyone understand that? Any questions?
Move the bill be reported.
Let's move the bill be reported. Is there a second? Second. And there's a second. Is there, oh, you have a line amendment?
Yes, apparently I do.
Sorry, Senator Lewis. The line amendment would be on line 52. After the word fund, to insert, all loans and grants given under this article shall be deemed to promote the public purposes of flood prevention or protection and enhancing resiliency.
Okay, so it's been moved. Is there a second on the amendment? And seconded that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
All right.
Move the bill as amended be reported.
It's been moved that the bill as amended be reported. Is there a second? It's been seconded. All in favor, record your vote aye.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's
The
reported.
next one I have is Senate Bill 783, and it deals with, well, as it started out, there's a substitute which you should have, but not, we adopted a substitute in ag. And so the bill started out allowing the Virginia Marine Resources Commission to participate in carbon trading in regard to SAV, submerged aquatic vegetation. Apparently, there is some carbon capture value in SAVs, and so what this allowed, and now DEQ, the substitute shifted it over to DEQ, allows them to participate and sell the carbon credits, and also to put that back into the research with and monitoring and research and administration of the SAV restoration program. We've got a really successful SAV restoration program going on the Eastern Shore, and so this would be very helpful.
Okay. This has a very minimal cost.
I didn't even have, I haven't gotten a fiscal on it yet.
It can be,
No amendments needed, I would move it be reported.
it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 783 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed,
16 ayes, 0 nays.
nay. 16 ayes, 0 nays. Bill's reported.
And the next bill we have, Madam Chair, is Senate Bill 831.
Okay, so the other, this 791 and 800 were in the block?
No,
They block?
800 was not in the block, I don't think, Madam
Okay.
Chair. And that's something, Senator Barker's got a couple of bills. I think
Oh, that's right.
that
Okay.
discussion probably needs
You're
to.
going to work those together.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, we need to do those together because one of mine's in direct conflict with
Right.
that one, so.
And so 781, Madam Chair, dealt with, came out of Commerce and Labor, deals with directing the SEC to develop guidelines around a concept known as fair market value. And currently, what that entails is it'll be used to calculate a base rate once a municipality chooses to sell a water or wastewater system to a private operator. And the practice of using fair market value is more of a standard practice in a number of other states. And that's used in substitute of what the existing rate, what the existing determination is, which is the base rate for post-acquisition, to determine the base rate for post-acquisition recovery. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Fair market value utilizes three valuation efforts for one for the purchasing entity and one for the selling entity, one for the SCC. So that's it, Madam Chair. I think it passed out, I think, fairly handily out of Commerce and Labor, and I don't know if there's any fiscal impact on this either.
Madam Chair?
It's all non-general fund. Yes,
Well,
Senator
that was my
Hanger.
question. What's the source of the non-general fund, Madam Chair?
And that I'm not sure of.
Does someone know?
Somebody knows. They're going to have to eat that.
Here. Wait. We put it in the block.
Tell them.
I can't.
Madam Chair, Bobby Tucker with the State Corporation Commission.
Yes.
That would be funded out of the Special Regulatory Revenue Tax Fund that the commission collects.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
We're not hearing testimony, okay. It's been moved that 831 be reported, is there a second?
Second.
And second, all in favor, record your vote aye, opposed
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays, the bill is reported.
The next one, Madam Chair, is Senate Bill 1058,
Okay.
about combined and consolidated tax returns. This will make your eyes glaze over.
Well,
Purpose of the bill, Madam Chair, is to address an unintended consequence of the federal tax reform in our.
do you have a substitute?
I don't think that I do, or maybe I do. I was unaware of it. I thought we had a substitute in Commerce and Labor. But if we've got a substitute, let's move it, yeah.
I just have a note that you were intending to
Okay.
submit one. Okay. Yes.
Why, thank you, sir.
has not been carried over. It is not involved. Oh. Okay. Okay. So, if you would like, since we have we're getting a substitute that apparently you weren't aware of, we could pass it by for the day if you'd like.
No,
or-
that's fine, Madam Chair. I
Okay.
was confused as to the course the bill had taken. I thought we'd been through Commerce and Labor already, but we had not, so it came directly here.
Okay.
You want me to go ahead?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
please.
So, Madam Chair, the substitute for Senate Bill 1058, purpose of the bill is to deal with the unintended consequences of the Tax Reform Act, Federal Tax Reform Act, and last year's conformity bill that is disproportionately affecting some of the largest employers. Companies file their tax returns in three ways: separate, combined, or consolidated. The vast majority, 95, 97%, file separate returns. 3% are larger, more complex companies, and they have multiple lines of business or operating units. And this bill deals with companies looking to change their status from combined to consolidated. And a company may do that for a lot of purposes: planning purposes, changing business needs, response to unanticipated tax changes, tax environment changes. The status a company files under in Virginia has a big impact. In some cases, two identical companies may have vastly different tax situations due to which status they file under. Virginia makes it difficult currently Virginia makes it difficult for a company to change its filing status from combined to consolidated. Permissions required from the tax commissioner and only granted if the company has filed its taxes the same way for the previous 20 years, and only change in status results in a tax increase, and only if the company calculates their taxes under the old and new ways and pays the greater amount for the following 2 years. So the conformity bill we passed last year, specifically the provision around net interest deductions, has a disproportionately negative impact on Virginia headquarters companies. The companies that brought this bill to me are in the banking and defense industries, two large sectors of the Commonwealth's economy. And this bill would have a positive impact on their ability to choose the method of tax filing. The bill creates a limited 2-year window, just a 2-year window, where companies in banking or defense industries may elect to switch to consolidated filing status. And to do this, a company still must have filed the same way for the previous 20 years, and in the first year, they must calculate their taxes in the old way and the new ways and pay the higher of the two. And they can't change back for another 20 years. So this is a long-term, they have a small window in which to make the decision, and then it's a long-term decision once they make it. And I know there's a fiscal impact, and I think there's some assumptions made in the fiscal impact about how many companies. They estimated 25, but they also apparently seem to consider the fact that all 25 would switch their filing status and that all 25 would have their liability drop to zero. And we just would submit to the committee that's probably not a realistic assumption.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
I know last year on this type of income, we only allowed a change of 20% deduction. With the substitute, and I don't know whether the tax department would need to speak to this, Senator Lewis, or the patrons, but this, with the substitute, would it still say that once they switch, they couldn't switch again for 20 years?
That's my understanding. Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
I was dialing a friend.
All right, thank you.
And they have a 2-year window, Senator Harrison.
Right. Senator, I got to ask you another question, Senator Lewis.
Yes.
This, I think, has partially been negotiated with the tax commissioner in terms of get to something reasonable. Is the tax department here?
I think I better let tax speak to that.
Is there someone here from tax?
I bet the police won't let them in.
Yeah, they weren't being let in for a while.
Madam
Yes.
Chairman, members of the committee, Bill White, Department of Taxation. We certainly talked to the interested parties in this bill. The original bill would have been certainly much more costly than what we think it would be now. The number we give in the impact statement, after pulling the specific returns, I think it's definitely at least a one-time hit, something north of $20 million. But I guess one other thing, it is narrower than the original.
Can I ask
That's
a
what we
question?
worked
Senator Deeds.
While you're up there, and just from the standpoint of wordsmithing the bill, I'm looking at line 46, and it talks about how a group of corporations may make an election. Is that the right way to, is that the way that you want that to appear in the code, a group of corporations?
Well, this has to do with how affiliated companies file. They can file on a single basis, and there's two other ways that they can file as a group. And in terms of how you file initially, yeah, you can make an election on how you file. And once you do, you're obligated to continue to file that way unless you ask for permission to change.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Hanger.
This obviously would be helpful to a Virginia-based company, a large one, and I'm inclined to support the bill. And if we run into some issues, that, in the governor's office later, because it's very complicated, and so I would move the bill be reported.
It is a $20 million impact.
Not an immediate impact, Madam Chair.
Okay, it's been, there's a motion that the bill be reported.
I think essentially, Madam Chair,
Okay, we need to
I
adopt.
think
the
20 million is
substitute.
probably worst-case scenario, I'll put it that way.
This is pretty bad. We need, but the thing is, we need to adopt the substitute
So
first.
moved.
It's been moved and seconded, the substitute be agreed to, adopted, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now,
Move the bill be reported.
it's been moved, the bill be reported.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
is there a reason we don't have the clause on this bill if it has such a major impact?
One might want to.
One might wonder, okay.
Substitute motion, is it seconded?
Second.
The clause be added to this bill. All in favor of adding the clause, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now on the bill.
Move the bill as amended be reported.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill is amended, be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. The,
No.
the bill is amended with, reported with a clause.
All right, Madam Chair, I have one more,
Okay?
other than the one I have involving Senator Barker's bills, and that would be Senate Bill 1027. And that's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
Okay, we're just trying to find it.
Okay.
What page it is?
Page? I don't know.
It is capital one. Where is April? And where am I? Okay, I got it, sorry.
Got it?
Okay, we're getting there.
Okay.
Good.
Do you want me to go ahead, Madam Chair?
Yes,
All right.
please.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 1027 is essentially the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative bill. It authorizes the Director of the Department of Environmental Quality to establish, implement, and manage an auction program and sell allowances into a market-based, and again, it's market-based trading program consistent with the Regional Greenhouse Gas
Well,
Initiative.
he's put in the budget.
The bill
This just-
also provides that 45% of the revenue from the auction allowances will be deposited into the Virginia Community Flood Preparedness Program. Current estimates are that the auctions would yield about $100 million per year.
But that's all right.
So 45% of that would go into the Community Flood Preparedness Program, which was one of the bills we just discussed. And then to deal with shoreline resiliency of frequently flooded properties and recurrent flooding issues throughout the Commonwealth. The other another 50% of the revenue would be accredited to the Department of Housing and Community Development to support low-income energy efficiency programs, including housing programs for housing developments, with technical assistance to be provided by DMME. as requested. The remaining percentages are in there for administrative costs, for administering the efficiency program, and also for administering the auction and the auction program, the allowances program. The bill further provides that there will be a joint annual report specifying the annual reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, the revenue collected, and a description of expenditures of the revenue. The Greenhouse Gas Initiative began in 2005 with the Series 9 predominantly northeastern states. It began being implemented in 2009. There are 9 members. New Jersey was in. It went out. Now it's slated to rejoin this year in 2020. Since the inception, the program has helped cut carbon pollution from power plants by more than half. Over Reggie's first 8 years, electricity prices in the region where Reggie participants fell by 6.4%. The program applies, again, what is a market-based solution to carbon reduction. It is modeled after a successful acid rain program used in the early 90s or implemented in the early 90s under President George H.W. Bush. The analysis group, an international economic consulting firm, determined that Reggie, during the 2009-2017 time period, the program yielded a net benefit to the Reggie states of $4.7 billion and created more than 40,000 job years. That's one FTE, 1 year of employment, in addition to achieving air quality improvement, which obviously results in a healthier population. I think it's important to note further that the Reggie participant states had levels of unemployment and economic growth that rival, and in some cases have even surpassed the Commonwealths. So that's it, Madam Chair.
Are there questions for Senator Lewis?
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, Senator Lewis, I'm in over my pay grade here because Reggie is complex.
It is complex.
Are there certain entities that have been given some exclusion or some exemption or given some treatment here that's a little different than others? If so, can you just outline those for me real quick?
Sure, Senator Newman, that's a good point. During the Commerce and Labor Committee hearing on this bill, there was an amendment proposed, which is in the substitute, which dealt with a specific issue between 2 specific entities as to who would be responsible for purchasing the allowances and participating in the Reggie program. And that was a policy decision that was litigated before the committee, and the committee made the decision as to how that would be handled, and that's in the bill.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Newman.
Here again, I don't understand it very well, and you do, but is there a way to treat both somewhat fairly or equally? Is that a possibility that we could take and not pick a winner here, or could we do both?
Well, and again, this was a policy decision that I chose to place before the committee, and the committee heard significant testimony on it. But what it comes down to is one of the entities suggested that the other entity could pass the cost along, while the entity who is contained in the bill could not pass it along. And so I think that was a decision that the committee made.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Senator Peterson.
I think what we had was what's called a tolling agreement in the energy industry, where you had an independent power producer that was taking in the fuel and then
Right,
producing the
that's
output, and they would have been stuck with 100% of the cost. And having heard the merits of that issue, we felt that that was unfair for them to be caught in that position by a regulatory change that frankly could not have been anticipated.
Right.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman.
is there also one in here for a major investor-owned utilities? Are they in this as an amendment as well, or is that?
There is. There was some language in there about cost recapture, I think, that was put forward by an investor-owned utility. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there further questions? Is there a motion?
I move to report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I won't be able to support that motion, although I was in the committee the other night, Ag Conservation Natural Resources Committee, and there was an extensive hearing, and there was an attempt to fix this. Wasn't really any good way to fix it, so it's not fixed. And very complicated, so I will just be recording a negative vote because of that.
Thank you. I imagine some people didn't think it needed fixing. Okay, we have a motion to report. All in the substitute, all in favor, record your vote aye, opposed nay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank the committee. And
12 ayes, 4 nays.
so, Madam
12
Chair,
ayes, 4 nays.
the one I have left is with involving Senator Barker.
Madam Chair, before we go
Yes.
on, could I just ask,
Yes.
here again, above my pay grade, but could we work on that last bill between now and session and see if we can understand if there is a way to avoid, I think it's about $40 million hit. If there is, let us understand it between now and session. Is that
And
okay, sir?
that, I think that is the correct figure, Senator Newman. But again, there were completely different views put forward before the committee about who could pass it on and whether it could be passed on and whether it could be passed on in its entirety. And but I'll be glad to try to do that. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, if we could do Senator Barker's.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Lewis has his bill. I have two bills. One of my two bills is in direct conflict with his. And so I think it's,
We've
just
lost
appropriate
him.
to have all these considered. The two bills I have are Senate Bill 763, which is the one that is in direct conflict, and 762, which is an additional bill. So I'll start with 763. Section 763 is taking an existing code section that provides a partial exemption from the M&T taxes at the local level for projects that are solar development projects that in operation. These were ones that would have had to have been moving forward and working with getting approval by January 1 of 2019. So these are not newer projects, but ones that were already in process by that time. Right now, the tax exemption is, as I indicated, is the 80% exemption. It has a sunset of 2024. What is proposed in this bill is to extend the sunset, but to also set up a modest step-down process that would take it from 80% exemption from M&T taxes for 5 years, the first 5 years, which would be ending by 2024, and then to have moved to 70% after that, and then for 5 years, and then to 60% beyond that, and the sunset would be moved back to 2030. So certainly, we've been moving fairly aggressively in terms of moving towards substantial increasing, having solar projects be an increasing share of the energy and electricity market within the Commonwealth. This has helped facilitate development there. Basically, the operators of some of these projects have already been in process, have already been operating these facilities and did so based upon this 80% exemption. They knew it was a 2024 sunset, but often these things are extended. And what's proposed here is to extend this sunset, but to step down the amount of exemption that they have there. I do have my phone a friend, Chip Dix, in the front row there that can help answer any questions. He's worked with various parties on these projects. So we do have a substitute for 763. Yeah, yeah. As was described.
Is there a motion to adopt the substitute?
So moved.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? You have the substitute
All
before
right.
us.
Do you want me to describe the other bill with the related bill at this time? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
And then if you could also talk about Senator Lewis's bill.
He's here.
Yeah, I know.
Senate Bill 762 is the other bill. What this would do is, in effect, provide some incentive for local governments to work with the solar industry people on solar projects, and would allow local governments to adopt an ordinance to receive a revenue share of up to $1,400 per megawatt capacity on these solar projects. So this would be a partnership and would offset, to some extent at least, I think, the M&T tax exemption that is there. So, as we're moving more aggressively towards solar projects, solar energy, here, I think that both of these two move the ball forward on that substantially. And Chip Dix is here to help answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Chip Dix?
Maybe Senator Lewis could.
Yes.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Maybe
Yeah.
Senator Lewis could present his bill, and then I
Yes.
think there'll be public testimony.
That's fine.
All right, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I've got Senate Bill 800. And Senate Bill 800 is pretty simple in its concept and just presents a policy decision between Senator Barker's bills and this one. Senate Bill 800 advances the sunset date of the state mandated sales and use tax for exemption from machinery and tools tax for utility scale solar projects greater than 20 megawatts and less than 150 megawatts. We did that last year. The proposal will allow counties to decide by local ordinance, as is allowed by Virginia law, to determine at their discretion to lower machinery and tools tax rate for projects greater than 20 megawatts in generating capacity. In 2018, we returned the authority to counties for projects greater than 150 megawatts in advance of the 2024 sunset date. Solar facilities generating greater than 20 megawatts and less than 150 in generating capacity can operate anywhere from several hundred acres to more than 2 square miles and are in effect large-scale solar plants with oversized footprints. This bill allows localities at their discretion to still provide some incentives for these larger installations. But again, this is very problematic for a lot of our localities, particularly rural areas. And so that's the policy decision before the committee.
Okay, so we have 3 bills, 2 of which are somewhat in conflict.
Conflict, yeah, that's
Yes.
correct. Yep.
So could I have a motion?
Did we adopt the substitute for 763?
And it's my,
We did.
Madam Chair, it's my
Yeah.
understanding you're not
We
taking
did.
testimony on this, is that correct? You're not taking?
No, not planning to.
Yeah, we'll do the substitute for 762 is available. We'll do that, I guess, after we do the 763, since that's the one that's in direct conflict with Senator Lewis's bill. With that, I would make a motion to report 763.
It's been moved and seconded that 763 be adopted. Be reported, sorry. Is there discussion on this? All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
I'm not sure about this.
763.
Did,
16 ayes, 0 nays.
69, 0 nays, 763 is reported.
Right. All right, then we do have a substitute for 762 as well. Can you distribute the substitute for that?
Is there a motion on the substitute? To adopt
Motion
this?
to adopt the substitute for 762.
It's been moved. Is there a second to adopt, and seconded that we adopt the substitute for 762? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay. Substitute's adopted.
All right, as I said, this would set up an optional agreement that, with revenue sharing, with up to $1,400 per megawatt capacity on solar projects that local ordinance would be set up by local ordinance and within the jurisdictions. So that's basically the sum of that particular bill. Both of these are designed to increase the amount of solar that's available at the utility level.
Are there questions for Senator Barker? Is there a motion then?
Move to report 762.
It's been moved and seconded. Is it seconded? Come on, gang. And seconded that Senate Bill 762 be reported. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. Then what do we do with Lewis?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm a little unclear on the disposition of Senator Lewis's bill. What was, as far as what the inconsistency was? Is that just, did we pass by, or you want his bill rolled in on the other one?
I believe they're in conflict.
They're in conflict, they're direct conflict, yes. 763 and Senator Lewis's 800 are in direct conflict, so that's why we had to pick one or the other, so.
So, would you like to strike your bill? No. No. Would you like it to just rest in the bosom of the committee? All right, it will do that. Okay. All right, now, if Clerk, could you update my, my list of people? This will just take a minute.
Most of them have talked, all except for some of the local governments. Some of the local governments, like, they
All right.
the
Okay.
exemption. And that's part of the reason we created.
I understand Senator Hashmi only has one bill, so let me pull her up first. Even though she's not first. Senator Hashmi.
Scott had me convinced that he was next.
Oh.
I will speak to SB 1032. This bill seeks to make it more accessible for low-income civil litigants to receive the same treatment, the same processing treatment in terms of applying for and receiving public assistance in their legal cases. Low-income civil litigants often have to prove that their status allows them to receive waivers on court fees and on receiving aid for their legal causes. And this bill seeks to make it more accessible for them to receive justice, and it reduces the administrative burden on the courts as well.
And I know that there is no fiscal impact statement on this.
The fiscal impact was indeterminate in 2019 when it was reviewed.
Are there any questions for the patron?
I have a comment.
Yes, Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, knowing a little bit about this arena, there may be an indeterminate fiscal impact, but first of all, in these general district courts, which hear the civil actions, in many, many localities in Virginia, there's an enormous turnover and churning of the court staff because of the very modest compensation. And what we are now doing is that we would have a certain currently unquantifiable class of individuals who would bring civil lawsuits who would not even be paying a filing fee, and there's no way to quantify what that avoidance is going to be. But what I do know is going to be less revenues that are coming in, going to the courts where there's already enormous fiscal stress and an unusual amount of turnover because the clerks are unable to retain staff because of the compensation reasons. So it's laudable what the senator's trying to do, but there is going to be a definite impact.
Are there any other questions or comments? It's been moved the bill be reported. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed,
no. 10 ayes, 5 nays.
10 ayes, 5 nays. Bill's reported.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going back on the list, Senator Reeves, I thought we had done your bill. You have more? Oh, you're here for gaming. Okay. Senator Surville.
No, I have one, just one. My other two are dealt with. Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is Senate Bill 963. This has to do with energy management in state buildings. It requires every agency to designate an existing employee to be the energy manager for that agency. So an existing employee. The only fiscal impact is, if you look at the fiscal impact statement, DMME has indicated that they might be required to have an additional classified person to coordinate state agency utility accounts with the state master account, and they don't know if they will or not. That's what it says, is they might. And that's why it said support costs are indeterminate at this time. But basically, the bill is there to coordinate the reduction of energy usage in all the state buildings as part of the governor's executive order. This has been done in other states. The idea is to try and consolidate all the information from all the state agencies and to set goals to reduce energy use in each building.
Are there questions for the patron? Is there a motion?
The report.
Second. It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor, say aye. Record your vote aye. I'm sorry.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
16 ayes, 0
That's my
nays.
only one. Thank you.
Okay. Senator McPike, do you have something other than gaming? You do? No. How about Senator Mason? Do you have? Oh, good. Your turn.
Loosely affiliated with gaming, but not today, ma'am. I have Senate Bill 702, ma'am. Last year, 702. Last year, we put together an oyster aquaculture group that tried to bring together the industry, private growers, dock workers, boaters. We brought all groups together that had a lot of issues, and we're trying to solve many of them. We looked at some fees that hadn't been increased since the 60s, and they all agreed to increase fees on themselves in places to do away with some bad actors. And what we also, so we passed that bill last year. And so the reason I'm here this year is that accrued about $400,000. And what we told that group last year is we'd come and ask for that money to be allocated to VMRC because VMRC is overwhelmed with people going out to survey oyster leases and do the work to try to continue to grow the oyster aquaculture industry. So the impact is moving the 400. And by the way, remember, these fees are designed to do away with bad actors, so we expect it to go down over the course of time. There's also a second fee this year, dredging fees that haven't been raised since 1970. That's about $230,000 in the future. If we pass this bill, that too, we'd like to ultimately go to VMRC.
Okay, the questions for Senator Mason. There's a motion to put the clause on the bill. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the clause be put on the bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Clause is on.
Diggity.
Okay,
I didn't mean to wake Senator Deeds up over there, ma'am.
Is
I
there
like
a-
Senator Norman's motion just fine.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Move report.
It's been moved and seconded the bill as amended be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My second bill is Senator Hanger's bill, Senate Bill 704. And I believe Senator Hanger has a substitute. We have his substitute. He has a couple of brief amendments to a substitute made and thoroughly debated among the farm community
All right.
one night this weekend.
We have a substitute. Is there a motion to adopt the substitute? It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And Madam Chair, I think Senator Hanger would like to speak to a couple of line amendments to the
Is there
substitute.
also line amendments, Senator Hanger?
Actually not. The substitute embodies what essentially the line amendment
Good.
that was put in it for
I'm
now. Madam Chair, Senator Peterson conducted a hearing on this bill for maybe a couple hours the other night, and we arrived at what we think is very good compromise language. The substitute actually doesn't change the focus of the bill at all. It just cleans up some wordsmithing, really, and that is essentially it. Senator Peterson may want to speak.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
we had a very long discussion on this in Ag and Natural Resources and basically decided to go with Senator Hanger's version, which is a little bit more of a go-slow approach on nutrient management and a little bit more of a sort of a collaborative approach than a mandated approach for now. And I think that was the wisdom of the committee to go in that direction. So I would move that we adopt that.
Second.
Senator Marsden.
Mic on. The a question for Senator Hanger. Senator Hanger, the folks at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, had some things they wanted to talk to you about after the meeting, some changes to your substitute. Were you able to have that conversation?
Yes, we did. There's and that's why the change in this wordsmithing. There are a couple other small items that we may need to sort out between the House and the Senate as we move this forward, certainly. And Senator Mason and I have talked about that, and with the Chesapeake Bay Commission, other stakeholders. But the wordsmithing that they requested that night has been accomplished here.
Great, thank you.
Okay, is there further discussion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved that the substitute be reported. All in favor, record your vote.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you,
Bill's
Madam Chairman,
reported.
members of the committee.
Okay, Senator Boysko.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have in-state tuition expansion, not SB 935. This is an administration bill, worked closely with the Attorney General's office as well. This provides in-state tuition for students who have 2 years of Virginia high school, graduate from a Virginia school program of home instruction, pass a high school equivalency exam, public or private. They must have graduated or passed the GED before July the 1st, 2008, and they must present 2 years of taxes for at least 2 years prior to the date of registration or enrollment. I put in a budget amendment for this. Chev has told us that we do not need additional funds to implement this, and the fiscal impact statement says that a budget amendment is not needed. If you have any questions, I have some folks here from the administration who could answer any questions if you need it.
So you're saying there's no fiscal impact?
Correct.
And a budget amendment is not needed?
That is my understanding.
So it doesn't sound like the bill needs to be here. It's been moved. Is there a second? And seconded, the bill be reported. All in favor, record your opposed, nay.
I don't know how that works, but anyway.
13 ayes, 3 nays.
Thank you.
13 ayes, 3 nays. The bill's reported. Okay. Next in line is Senator Favola. Is she here? Senator Morrissey? Is he here? Are there? But they're part of the gaming bills. We're waiting for this. Are they, we're okay, we've got them? Okay, good. Yes, now we'll switch to gaming. Okay, Senator Barker, 199.
All right, first up is Senate Bill 199. There's a substitute for that.
Madam Chair, the substitute was adopted in general law, so it doesn't need to be adopted by this committee.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Basically, what happened here was that we requested a bill be drafted that would allow both the charitable-owned and the for-profit owned bingo halls to be able to operate 7 days per week with whatever, as many sessions, bingo sessions per day as they desired. But what happened was that when the bill was drafted initially, it included not only that, and this was taken from a bill that was submitted last year, but also an expansion in the number of pull tab and instant bingo games that could be played there, which did result in a significant fiscal impact being attached to it of about $900,000. What is done with the substitute, which was acted on by General Laws and Technology Committee, is to take the bill back to what was intended, which is just 7 days a week bingo availability for those who operate the bingo programs. As a result of a variety of different things, some of the charitable bingo operations have been stressed in recent years and have not been as profitable. and this is designed to help them be able to provide more revenue that would go to the charities that they are operating. Because the way the bingo system operates there, there's non-general fund revenue if they expand it, because they would be incurring the full cost themselves, so there's not a cost to the state to operate that. And I do have Chuck Lesson from the Charitable Bingo Association and Board is here and could answer any questions anyone might have about that.
So just so I understood you correctly, the substitute brings it down to only 7 days.
Well, the substitute has it operating 7 days a week.
Does
So
it have
right now,
other?
Right now, the charitable bingo halls can operate 4 days a week. The for-profit ones can operate 2 days a week. What this would do is allow both of them to operate 7 days per week. Well, the cost would be absorbed by the people who are operating the bingo system, so there's no state dollars that would be required. The fiscal impact that was done originally was based upon the way the bill had been drafted, which was to provide for an increase in instant bingo and pull tabs, which was not intended to be part of the bill, and so therefore removing that in the substitute basically took away that fiscal impact.
Are there questions for Senator Barker?
Madam Chair?
Senator Hanger?
I don't have any problems with the bill. I like to support the bill, but I would just suggest that if we are successful in passing your bill, Senator Norman's bill, that we're combined together with the gray machines, that the charitable gaming will be more profitable now. Because all they have to do is go down to 7-Eleven now if they want to gamble. So.
Yep.
Madam Chair.
Senator Norman and I are quite a team when we decide to team together. Yes.
I've just been informed that the substitute that was adopted in general laws also was not correct and did have the expansion, so if there's agreement, we could move forward and have a new substitute drafted to deal with that and either act on that today or when the next meeting would be. So.
Can we deal with that with a line amendment to the substitute? As a substitute. All right. Are people willing to adopt this in concept?
I move that we adopt this in concept to take out any expansion of the machines, such as those used for instant bingo and pull tabs and that type of thing. So.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion? Yeah, okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now the bill.
And with that, I would move that, we report the bill with the amendment in concept that we just acted on.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Madam Chair, I do have a
Yes.
question.
Yes, Senator Hanger.
Is it common practice now throughout the state in any places where they actually do this on Sunday? I mean, with the 4 days, I think they were probably avoiding Sunday.
Yes. Yes, welcome.
Madam Chair, members, it is actually commonplace for charities to play through the 7 days, but with the restrictions, oftentimes in bingo halls, you're stuck. So if you have a certain number of charities playing on 2, no one else can play on the other days. This just gives folks the option. I don't think this will create more bingo games. It will allow the existing charities that are playing bingo to sort of slide and move through the week on the games that are convenient for their volunteers.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Senator Edwards.
Who's overseeing this? Is the lottery going to oversee this or what?
No, Senator. This is supervised. There is a charitable gaming board of which I'm currently serving as its chairman, and we fall under VDAX, and there's the Office of Charitable and Regulatory Programming, and it's been that way for a number of years.
Further questions?
And I can tell you that Senator Vogel and I spent a whole year just studying bingos and traveling to different halls. It was an education, so.
Yes, more than you wanted to know.
Yes.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
14 ayes, 2 nays.
14 ayes, 2 nays. The bill's reported.
All right, there are two other bills that deal with the bingo situation here. One is from Senator McPike, and the other is from Senator Reeves. both of those would add some machines to the system. And they could, I'm sure, be able to tell you what they have in each of their bills. And I think Senator McPike's was sort of one that was set in motion to be able to provide an option should there be a different action taken on your bill,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 387 does contemplate, in case there were an allowance for gray machines or other machines within the ABC restaurants, that also the charities get allowed to permitted to also place those devices. The bill in the enactment clause has a built-in kill switch. And so as the vehicle moves forward, should there be any policy change of the decision, this vehicle is in place. If the regulation gets in place, the bill dies and goes away. So there's a built-in sort of time bomb built into the enactment clause.
Jason, can you speak to this?
Madam Chair, Senator McPike was accurate in his description. The second enactment provides that any provisions related to the expansion of the electronic machines do not become effective unless legislation regulating electronic gaming devices is passed during the 2020 regular session. So at the moment, you don't have one before you.
I'm
But
sorry.
At the moment, you do not have that vehicle before you based on previous action of the committee. Staff has no recommendation.
Yeah, it's in just also in case as we're just in the second quarter of in case anything else pops back up during the session, that this vehicle still exists in the body.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
Madam Chair, I'm fine with it either way. If the commitment tonight is that this body is committing to remain with its ban, I think there's no harm with killing it. If there is any inkling that there may be something coming back, I would suggest keeping the legislation alive in the body. And it has a built-in kill switch.
I'm pretty flexible on it, but if in fact something should emerge that would authorize it or continue it, then would there not be the opportunity to provide an amendment to it?
Believe it's different code sections based on charitable gaming and
That
deed
doesn't
acts.
seem to bother the Senate too much.
It is separate code sections, but.
So the motion was to report? I'm losing track.
There was no motion.
There's no motion, okay. There is still no motion. So we will let this just rest calmly on the table.
Love you.
Carried over. I move that be carried over to the year.
For the year?
For the year.
It's been moved and seconded, the bill be
Do we need
carried over for the year? Okay, all in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay, the bill is carried over for the year. Okay. So, Senator Reeves, you're not on my list, but I know I had called you. So
I
looking
just
at
have
that. Yeah, okay.
one bill,
Go ahead.
1052. It has to do with charitable electronic pull tabs.
Okay.
And it's going to allow the folks with the amendment to go from 9 to 18 of those machines for our charities. I don't believe there's any opposition to that, and depending on what the committee does with these things, may or may not be alive after this session. The cost can be absorbed interagency is what I've got on the financial impact. And actually would increase revenue to the state, but we don't get credit for that.
Senator, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair,
Jason.
point of clarification, the way the bill is drawn would not subject the proceeds from those machines to the 1.125% audit.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The additional revenues from those machines would not be subject to the 1.125 audit and administration fee. So there would be no additional general fund revenue.
I'm sorry, I must be losing, I couldn't hear you at all.
No additional general fund revenue.
No additional general fund revenue could come from this. But is there a cost? It could be, right? No cost, no.
Madam
All right.
Chair, the FIZ indicates that there is no cost for VDAX because they would not necessarily inspect machines as they are in the private quarters of the charitable organizations.
Okay. Is there a motion then on the bill? Is there a second?
Substitute motion. Go ahead.
It's been moved and
Substitute
seconded.
motion to carry the bill over, just like we did with Senator McPike's.
Yes, substitute motion to carry the bill over like we did with the Senator McPike's.
Right.
Is there a second to that, to the substitute motion? Also, I'll second it. Okay, all in favor indicate by voting aye. Opposed, nay. To carrying it over.
Fourteen ayes, 2 nays.
14 ayes, 2 nays, the bill's carried over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
While you're waiting for the next bill, I made the motion to carry over Senator Pike's bill, and then we did that one, but I haven't been privy to some of the conversations y'all been having. It wouldn't, there's not a real deadline on that bill today. Would it have been more appropriate just pass it by for the day?
That's what I thought we were doing.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I haven't voted on the prevailing side on that bill. I'd like to reconsider that.
It's been moved and seconded. We reconsider carrying over the bill. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay?
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
Madam Chair, I'll just ask that they go by for the day.
It's been moved without objection. It'll go by for the day.
And did you want to treat the Senator Rice Reese the same? Having voted on the prevailing side on that bill, I would ask that it be reconsidered.
Is there a second? It's been moved that we reconsider the Reese bill. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd ask that they
Would
go by for the
reconsider.
day.
Without objection, it will go by for the day. Okay. Oh, Senator Favola.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Could you please turn to Senate Bill 481? This bill was acted on by Commerce and Labor Committee, and you probably have a substitute in front of you. I can give you a brief explanation.
Do we have
and-
a substitute in front of us?
Madam Chair and Senator Favola, there's a Commerce and Labor substitute. Is that the substitute you're referring to?
That is.
All right.
Thank you. And I also have an additional line amendment to add to the substitute that came out of Labor and Commerce. I've been working with the business community and other stakeholders, and we have come to an agreement, so on an important issue. Should I go ahead and read the line
Please.
amendment? Or do you
Please.
want to adopt the substitute first? This is the line
I
amendment.
thought we just heard it's already in, that's what's in front
Okay.
of us is the
Okay, great,
substitute.
okay. So the line amendment would read, the provisions of this article, and it would be at the end of the document, I guess, shall not apply to an employer that has entered into a bona fide collective bargaining agreement with respect to the employees that are covered by such agreement for the duration of the agreement, provided that the collective bargaining agreement provides at least 5 days or its equivalent of paid time off for full-time employees or a prorated amount for part-time employees on an annual basis. And everybody seems to be in agreement on that. And I have a copy.
Okay. Is there anyone not in agreement with this? Okay.
This takes care of that airline issue and other things that we heard in front of Commerce and Labor. So just very, very briefly, the bill before you.
Let's adopt the amendment.
Okay.
Is there a motion on?
Move the amendment.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The amendment, so the substitute out of Commerce and Labor now has an amendment.
Right.
You can speak to it now.
That's great. Okay, the bill before you as amended would apply to employers with 15 employees or more. And what it does is it would require such employers to grant 5 days of paid time off or sick days, however they would be used, in 1 year. So employees would start accruing their time based on hours worked. This bill would not take effect until January 1st, 2021. And the leave could be used to, provide care, some kind of care or medical, go to doctor's visits for a child, a relative. I think it's on line 75 where we define who and how the employees could use their leave and for what purposes, and who would be included under the definition of family. Actually, it's line 37. So an employee could take leave to care for a biological child, adopted or foster child, a biological parent, foster parent, or step parent, an individual to whom an employee is legally married, a grandparent. So this is a really important provision of the bill. It's just, if you think about it, so many people who serve us in professions or in areas where they have direct contact with us, food service workers and others, they oftentimes go to work sick because they can't afford to take time off. And this bill would permit that. The bill also is considered to be very important from a public health standpoint because there are studies that show children whose parents don't have any time off from work are behind in getting their vaccines, tend to go to school when they really are sick. And of course, those kinds of situations are not healthy for the rest of the children or school community, and it's just not the right thing to do. There's so many good things about this bill, and there is a provision in here that somebody cannot be fired if they actually do take a sick day. So with that, Madam Chair, a lot of groups have been very interested in this bill. They've worked very hard, and we have knitted together, I think, a package that addresses some of the concerns the business groups had, but really does get to a very important piece of enabling workers to also accept responsibility for their health and the health of some family members. I sincerely hope you can vote for this bill.
Madam
It
Chair.
sounds like you've achieved peace in the valley.
We have, and the governor has a budget amendment in for $200,000. I think there are 2 employees at the Bureau of the Labor and Commerce, and I also put a budget amendment in.
Senator Peterson?
I had sort of one practical question. Can someone just take the leave even though they're not sick or they don't have, do they have to fit into one of these categories or can they just say it's paid time off?
It's paid time off. They could take it as paid time off as well.
Which I think that would be easier. Second thing is there a threshold before these benefits kick in? Because oftentimes you'll hire somebody, they work for a certain amount of time before the benefits kick in. What's the threshold?
It's 90. If they're vested after 90 days, is that your question for? Yeah. So after 90 days, the benefit would take effect. They start earning it right away, but they can't apply it or use it till after 90 days.
Charles, did you have something?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, when the notes were prepared for the committee, there was no fiscal impact statement available. There has since then, however, been one published. And just to point out to the committee that there is an anticipated fiscal impact to the Department of Labor and Industry, which would only partially be covered by the Patrons Amendment and the amount included in the introduced budget.
Why is there a cost?
Yes.
Madam Chair, what the fiscal impact statement says is that the Department of Labor and Industry indicates that it would need to require 4 additional compliance officer positions to conduct inspections. and one assistant compliance officer to assist and support the inspection activities.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
I move we report it.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded, the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no. Does Norm, do you want?
10 ayes, 5 nays.
10 ayes, 5 nays. The bill is reported.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The next bill is Senate Bill 866, and this is a pregnancy discrimination, anti-discrimination bill, I should say. This is, I am carrying this for the administration, and Senator Evans' bill actually eliminated a code in the statute. My bill creates a new code. It is not in conflict with Senator Evans' bill. It applies to an employer employing more than 5 but fewer than 15 persons. And it states essentially that discrimination in employment on the basis of pregnancy, childbirth, or a related medical condition is unlawful. And there also is language about civil action.
Madam Chair?
Senator Peterson.
We had this exact same bill in courts through Senator McClellan, not to mention is also covered in Senator Evans' bill. Not to mention it's already a violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act.
My understanding is the federal law covers employers with 15 or more employees, and there's nothing that protects the 5 to the 14 employees.
Okay, so
Senator Peterson.
we just had a bill that's coming out of Ed and Health on the
Okay.
exact same subject matter. Literally the exact same subject matter.
I guess may I ask Megan Healy to come forward, because I was expecting the governor's office was coordinating all this,
Well, that's not.
and that may not be the case.
Yes, second.
So Megan Healy, Chief Workforce Development Advisor to Governor Northam. So when we did these bills, one, we had, again, it was right before session, so we put these bills in. This actually changed the definition of pregnancy. It says that a person may be pregnant or has become pregnant. And so that's one of the things that we've heard complaints in the workforce area, that women, if they're going through anything IVF treatment, or that employer knows that they're potentially pregnant. We did look at Senator McClellan's bill, and that's really around like accommodations. And it also looks as a cause of action of creating accommodations in the workplace. This is basically, the current human rights says you can't discharge someone for being pregnant. This adds you can't discharge or discriminate against someone, and then changes the line of pregnancy.
Is there further questions for Megan?
I guess
Chair.
from
Senator
Senator
Newman.
Peterson.
I don't know if we're going to pass all these bills or none, but we did in Ed and Health this morning remove on line 32 and punitive damages, and I would so move we align them.
Madam Chair, we had a meeting at the desk.
I forgot to mention that.
Senator Barker, and we adopted that exact language.
Yes.
After session today.
Yeah.
So
it's
line
it's
31.
in the substitute. All
It's
right.
actually in the substitute.
Thank you so
Okay,
much for
thank you.
pointing that out.
What you just said.
Are there further questions?
Maybe all these bills could be rolled together. I'm not, and I'm not sure that these distinctions are necessarily as bright a line as they should be, but
Madam Chair.
But we don't have the other bills.
I don't, yeah.
I mean,
Senator Peterson.
we spent a fair amount of time on this in Ed and Health. We had 2 committee hearings on it, and to suddenly have this bill pop up, and it's this exact same subject matter, exact same cause of action, exact same remedies. And I just, I don't understand why these bills weren't rolled together.
Do you, if it's the wish of the committee, I can get together with other patrons and maybe some of my language can be added. That might be an easier approach for all concerned. I'm happy to work with,
Mr. Chair.
Senator McClellan, you may have.
Senator McClellan.
Yeah, I think my bill encompasses this one, but we will get together and verify that, and if they need to be rolled together, if there is something that is covered in hers that's not covered in mine,
Okay.
we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's fine.
Thank you, Senator
Okay,
Cavavola.
we're trying to make your life easier. Thank you so much.
Senator Morrissey, you're next.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I think I can be out of here in 90 seconds. I know you've had a long day. My bill is Senate Bill 931, and this bill would increase the maximum amount that an individual could subtract from the, under Section 58.1, 322 income tax subtractions for pursuant to an award that that person received for giving a tip to law enforcement and the apprehension of criminals. It's as simple as that. If you would look under lines 35 and 36, that's it. That's the bill. It changes from $1,000 to $5,000, the amount that an individual can subtract from this section of the code in computing taxable income. The only thing else I'd add is that under the revenue impact, it is indicated that the bill would have likely minimal negative general fund revenue impact. And if it's relevant, there was a similar bill that went before the House carried by Delegate Cox that was reported out unanimously.
Okay. Just to make sure we haven't already passed this in one of the blocks, the minimal, no, we haven't. Okay.
Move the bill be reported.
It's been moved, the bill be reported.
Second.
And seconded, all in favor, record your no. Thank you.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays, the bill is reported. You were right.
Told you, 90 seconds. Thanks, have a good evening.
All right. We do now have the substitutes for the casino bills. If they could be distributed.
Madam Chair, first we're going to hand out the substitute that is the substitute from general laws.
Okay.
A committee substitute.
In case you couldn't hear, they are now passing out the substitute that was sent here from general laws. And then after dealing with that, we will have a Senate Finance Committee substitute proposal.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, if it's helpful, I can describe
Yes.
substitute, and then you can contemplate the two.
All right.
Madam Chair and members, there are, hold on 1 second, material. Madam Chair and members, the committee substitute would have 10 key differences between the general laws substitute and what the committee is proposing. The first change would be to increase the tax rate brackets in the general laws substitute, which are currently 15, 20, and 28%, to 27, 31, and 40%, and increase the share of local revenue from 5, 6, and 7% to 9, 10, and 11%. The committee substitute would increase from $1 million to $15 million, the license fee required for operators. It would add an annual licensure revenue fee of 0.7% of net gaming revenues to support lottery administration costs and the cost of auditing. It would eliminate the proposal for temporary gaming license to allow the regulatory approval process to work. It would extend from 45 to 90 days, the pre-certification determination period. It would extend from 9 months to 12 months, the operator license determination period by lottery. It would provide for good faith negotiations, requiring the operator's terms in the pre-certification process to remain throughout the licensure process, providing lottery the ability to reject the application if the terms change during the negotiation. It would include language requiring lottery to monitor and report slot machine activity through an online central gaming system. It would add 2 members to the size of the lottery board, including 1 CPA and 1 law enforcement officer. And with respect to the Richmond Casino, it would make the preferential language permissive, changing shall to may. The result of the committee substitute would increase revenues available to the state to $194 million at full implementation and approximately $94 million for the locals.
Are there questions for Jason? Yes, Senator Norman.
Where is this change on the permissive language?
Madam Senator Norman, could you repeat the question, sir?
You indicated that there was a change about permissive language, and having had about 90 pages just dumped in front of me, I'm sorry, I haven't located it just yet.
Madam Chair, Senator Norman, I don't have the line numbers in front of me because I didn't actually get one of the subs. It is with respect to Richmond only, and it changed may to shall, shall to may. And it is on line. It is on line 1273. Thank you, Council. It's on line 1273. Looks like
1273?
It looks like it was not incorporated in the substitute.
Huh.
Let me cut that. It still says shall here. Is this the right one?
It's in there.
Oh, it is. It should be on line 1273. I was given the general law substitute. Yep, line 1273.
Madam Chairman?
Yes,
As I'm
Senator
reading
Norman.
1273, the mandatory language of shall is still there?
Madam Chair, Senator Norman, the handout dated 2:35 p.m.
But the one we have is 455.
Amigo's coming around.
Madam Chairman, we have 2 matters. One is at 455, and the other actually was the amendment in the nature of the substitute.
Line 235.
No, the committee substitute is timestamped 2:35. It does not.
I don't think some of us have the committee substitute. Ours is 455.
Easy way.
That was one of the,
Makes
Yeah.
it convenient, so.
Yeah.
so is there,
You and me both.
235 is what? Let's pass this by temporarily to make sure we have the right substitutes in front of us. Do- So, Jason, do we have the right wording? Oh, sorry. Do we have the right wording on the 235?
So the, well, the 455 has the wording you were talking about versus shall.
But we want may.
It says shall. You want to say may?
We want to say may.
Richmond Special.
Madam Chair, members, the 2:35 PM timestamp is the one that should be the correct version that has on line 1273 may provide preferred consideration. Only for
Senator
the
Norman.
Richmond.
Madam Chairman, if I could inquire of staff or legislative services, are there any other inconsistencies between the version of the bill at 235 and 455?
That would be the only inconsistency, because that was a later change. That would be the
That's the only, the answer is that's the only inconsistency. So do,
Madam
does
Chair,
everyone have the 235 substitute? That is the.
I have 455.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have 455.
All right, then,
As far as we know.
so the only difference is may instead of shall between the two versions, and that's on line 12.
The committee substitute would be the 2:35 PM timestamp on the LD format with the wide spacing. The
But we
general,
don't have that.
the general laws substitute is the one with the narrow spacing that looks like a the online PDF.
Yeah, regular bill.
Yes.
Unfortunately, most of the committee members have the 455 instead of the 235. There is, as I understand, just a one word, a fairly significant word difference. And it changes shall to may, and I'm asking what line that is, so everyone.
Line 1273.
On line 1273. So if we would, it should be may.
The committee substitute would be
The
May.
committee substitute would have may.
Madam Chair,
So if,
I'll wait until you finish that part.
well, I was just going to ask if you would like to propose an amendment to line 1273, changing shall to may.
Yes. I make that,
She's
that's the
she
motion.
makes that motion.
Yes.
Is there, and there's a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Madam Chair,
It was to change, to use this one and then change shall to may. Yes, Senator Lucas.
well, you know, some of the localities have been here in Richmond all week long, and I'm getting text messages. My little mobile device here is just blowing up, and it seems that the rate is what's causing the most concern, and so I just need to put that out there. And so, is there any way that we might be able to work out these differences in conference, or?
I am sure that the House and the Senate are going to have different versions, so that will go to conference, and I'm sure it can be conferenced. I mean, I don't know how the outcome would be, but it certainly would be on the table.
I have another question, Madam Chair. I had another amendment because there was some language that was stricken from the bill and that we would like to have reinserted. And if you could get the attorney.
Sure.
Sure.
Madam Chair and Senator Lucas, the amendment is pretty lengthy, but as I understand it, if this is correct, Senator Lucas, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to do with adding an enactment clause related to the Virginia Racing Commission and allowing them to authorize 600 more historical racing terminals each time a referendum is required, provided that the total number of additional machines authorized in the enactment wouldn't be higher than 2,500.
Madam, let me save him some time. What
Senator
this is,
Norman.
and I was talking with Senator Lucas, this is reinstating what was previously the reenactment number 5 that had been worked out amongst the parties, which would include the Colonial Downs, additional machines which would come online as each individual referendum was approved.
That is correct.
So it's what was originally proposed, was taken out, and now the parties have agreed to put it back in.
So Senator Lucas, would you like to move that amendment?
Yes, ma'am, I move that. That section be put back in, Madam Chair.
Madam
It's been
Chair?
moved and seconded. Yes, Senator Peterson.
So these 2,500 historical machines, are they going to go at Colonial Downs and OTB sites? Where are they actually going to be?
Madam Chairman, as I understand it, do you not even, you all don't have the amendment? Why don't we have the subcommittee chair? I have it.
Okay, Senator McCarthy.
Go ahead.
So there are a number of different provisions in the Section 5 enactment, one of which is the addition of the machines. There's additional provisions for, I believe it's 600 for Vinton, and I believe it's, thank you, sir, 1,800 for Dumfries, so roughly 2,000 machines in Northern Virginia and Dumfries. That's the size of roughly a 3 Kmart, Walmart size, like the Baltimore facility. And then the others has the cap at the 2,500 that would get redistributed. So this is a difference from the current Virginia, the administrative code that governs this section. Cover it for you.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, Trey Adams on behalf of Plaintiffs, just so there's no misunderstanding, it's not 2,500 and another 2,000. It's a total increase of 2,500, which actually mathematically reflects the impact of the JLARC report on the loss of our revenue when casinos come online, which is why the increase is actually staggered as individual referendum pass.
May I ask a question while he's there?
Yes, Senator Norman.
And this is not on the 5th reenactment, but just so I'm clear, we corrected lines 1274, which went from the mandatory language of shall to may, but my question to you is, it indicates, excuse me, little I, number 1, a significant infrastructure, limited licensee is defined, and then as a conjunctive, should it be and or?
Thank you, Mr. Senator Norman, for pointing that out. By changing the shall to a may and not changing the or to an and, you've put the city in a position where it could give the preference to one of those groups but not the other. And the language in front of you is actually a change from the original drafting. The original drafting of the bill, no pun intended, made Richmond a 2-horse race. The decision was made to give some preference because of Colonial Downs' role as a significant infrastructure holder, and the Indians, because of their historical position, give them some preference, but allow others to compete. And I just think it was a drafting error not to put and there to say the preferences would belong to both.
Thank you. Are there further questions?
Yep. Madam.
Somebody said yeah, but I don't know. Okay.
After we
Norman.
deal with whether Senator Lucas's amendment to reinstate reenactment number 5, I would like to come back to 1274 and change the conjunction or to and.
Madam Chair,
Senator McPike.
I'll provide some of the subcommittee's thinking in terms of its removal of the enactment for consideration for the body. The Dumfries referendum, at the time, the Virginia Administrative Code had 150 machines. That referendum was passed. And so this enactment would then, even though locality has already passed with a conceptual 150, would jump that number up to 1,800.
That's the difference.
Furthermore, what the subcommittee felt was the 5 locations, the enactment clause began to bleed the rest of the gaming and casino essentially to a statewide issue where you start to impact multiple different jurisdictions, resolving one issue of incumbency. And I think the concern is through the JLARC report also, with the increased number of machines, you now create an incumbency in Northern Virginia. So if you do consider a future casino, you'll be mitigating this in the future. So what became a five-city issue now starts to complicate. So I just wanted to present, I think that's what the subcommittee thinking, as well as the full committee, as we move forward in that consideration.
Are there further questions? Senator Evan.
For Senator McPike, I just want to understand what you're saying. You're saying if there's another Rosie's or much greatly expanded, you're saying that when you say incumbency, you're saying that what's going to happen in the future?
So, for instance, the 1800 is roughly 3 times the size of the Richmond location just south of here. So it's the equivalency of a Horseshoe in Baltimore casino. And so what you do is, because that is in Dumfries, so that's roughly 25, 30 miles from Tyson's, Alexandria, and lots of other places. A lot of times if you open up a Northern River casino, you're going to be faced with a future policy choice of then mitigating losses to that now expanded facility if a casino is approved in Northern Virginia. So certainly the bulk of the money considered in the JLARC report came out of Northern Virginia. So this is sort of creating a domino effect that you will have to mitigate these 1,800 machines in new investment at some point in the future. And that's, I think, part of the domino concern versus dealing with the casino question itself.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there further questions?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Senator.
Not a question, but a comment.
Okay, Senator Norman for a comment.
I am respectful of what the senator just shared with us. I think there are some other unarticulated considerations that got into the conversation on it, and perhaps competitive considerations from other areas. But it is my understanding that some of the initial objections that might have gone beyond what Senator McPike said had been worked out, and that is the basis for the consideration in reinstating reenactment number 5, which actually at one point in time had been negotiated amongst the various parties. So I would respectfully ask the committee to support the reinstatement of Senator Lucas's motion of reenactment number 5.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senator Lucas's amendment dealing with reenactment clause 5
Yes.
be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Senator Deeds.
What exactly is number 5?
Number
Senator
5, thank you, Madam Chairman. As the bill was originally presented, there was a reenactment number 5. And reenactment number 5 was designed to recognize where Colonial Downs or revolutionary racing was, which is only dealing with the machines. And there was an understanding, then there were some other discussions that resulted in reenactment number 5 being withdrawn. And now we are back where there's not the resistance.
Is reenactment number 5, Madam Chair, is reenactment 5 the language that could assist others in the horse industry?
No.
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
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 The short answer is yes.
Okay.
All good.
Okay.
All good for the horse.
All right.
Did we vote on that? What do you think? It's horse stable.
I think we're about to vote on, we are about to vote on the amendment dealing with reenactment number 5. All in favor of that, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Okay.
It passes. The amendment
Now,
passes.
Madam Chair,
Senator Norman.
if I may redirect, with Senator Lucas's permission, please.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. If I could ask the committee to redirect their attention to line 1274, where we have already amended the compulsory language of shall to the permissive language of may, and would respectfully move that the conjunction right before little subparagraph B be changed from or to and.
And Senator Norman, can you remind us of what the implication of that is?
On it, Madam Chair, what that would do is it would provide the discretion to address a significant infrastructure limited license. What it is it's a preference or a preferred consideration that doesn't have a quantification to it, but as it does set it up. But it would also allow consideration for either a significant infrastructure of a limited licensee and a Virginia Indian tribe recognized under the criteria. So it would allow consideration of both of those rather than a choice of one.
Okay, is there a
That make any
second?
sense?
Yes, it did. Is, at least to me. Is there a second to that? Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the amendment of changing or to and, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Are there any other amendments being proposed? Is there then a motion on the substitute as?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, the substitute as amended be reported. All in favor, please vote aye. Opposed, no.
14 ayes, 2 nays.
14 ayes, 2 nays. The bill is reported. Senator Lucas, I think you've been working on this 5 years, so.
Yeah, yes. I've gained a whole lot more gray hair.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if I could have a list of bills we haven't done, or are we done? We have a whole bunch of member bills. Okay, yes, why don't you do open chains right now?
Madam Chair, I have Senate Bill 705. It's Senator Obenshain's bill. It deals with passport fees and clerks' offices. 2 of Senator Obenshain's local clerks of the court came to him about this. The background is one of the duties that they perform for citizens is being a passport agency. It's not a mandated duty, but one that they perform due to the high demand. What this bill would do would allow for the clerks to have a $10 per passport fee, and they would use these funds for issuing passports, and that's all the bill does, as I understand it.
Okay, are there questions about the bill? Is there a motion on the bill?
I would move to report the bill.
Been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 705 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed,
15 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator.
Senator McClellan has a bill. I see Chief Atkins has been sitting out there a long time, if she'd want to take that up.
Wait a minute. Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Senate Bill 1076, and there is a substitute. Senate Bill 1076 would basically authorize the governor to purchase, in a form approved by the Attorney General, a parcel of land in Charles City County in an amount up to a certain dollar amount, and then to convey such land to the Chickahominy Indian tribe. Chief Atkins is here and can answer any questions. Long story short, this particular parcel of land was part of the Chickahominy tribe's historic lands and is currently for sale, and they would like to have their land back. And Chief Atkins, if you'd like to.
Welcome, Chief. It's nice to see you.
Well, Madam Chairwoman and committee, it's an honor to be here, and I do ask that you report this bill out, because I look back and, well, I can't look back that far, but in 1646, this first English-speaking representative government deemed it advisable to force my people off their ancestral land to what is now King William County. And it was kind of it's ironic that with the same assembly had passed this fee simple land transaction model, but ours was simply a precursor to eminent domain. And we were forced off that land, so here's a negligible part of that property that hopefully we can get back. So in my view, this is a time that you can do the right thing, and the right thing would be to grant this so that we could have part of our ancestral land back. In the past, we've had to have a non-person of color front us asking a property owner land was for sale. They would negotiate a deal for us, but when it turned out that the people found out that was a person of color going after that land, it was nixed. But this individual, it's a willing seller, and I hope this committee will deem it advisable to report the bill out. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Is there
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
So
Senator Edwards.
The Commonwealth is privately owned, and the Commonwealth's going to buy it for $2.9 million or whatever, and then basically give it to the Indian tribe for $1. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks.
Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support what is being tried to be accomplished here. I guess how we go about that is what I would question in terms of any potential negotiation on this, and whether or not we would want to put that in the substitute, and whether or not we need to put some kind of clause on here as we allocate this the funding necessary in the budget. It would seem, and I guess one question would be, whether or not we want to peg this to actual market value, negotiated market value, or what the willing seller. If we put $2.5 million, what it might be $2.5 million.
Madam
you know anything about
Madam
this deal?
Chair, so in the substitute, I think it provides room to negotiate by saying that we would authorize the governor to purchase the land for up to $2.5 million. I have a note that this might need to be 2.9. I can't, but is that?
Well, I can assure you, I would not spend 2.5 or 2.9 for that. I use other people's money the way I do mine, with discretion. I mean, so I'm not going to waste the money. That number was put in there to give us some leeway, but it will be significantly.
Madam Chair.
Senator Hanger.
I would suggest we need somehow that we would be having, as we typically do, have general services be handling this from a pool of funds so that it can be negotiated. And I don't know how to draw that language right now, but I certainly support the intent of what the Chief and Senator McClellan want to accomplish, but not the way we're doing it here.
Senator Norman.
I would just ask we pass this by temporarily.
Without
Just for a
objection.
couple of minutes.
Without objection, we'll pass it by temporarily. Okay, Senator Obenshain's other bill?
I don't have it. Somebody else does.
Oh.
Chap does. Chap, you've got his other bill.
I don't have another one written here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Senator Obenshain. This bill, I believe, came through agriculture, and it deals with the Dairy Producer Margin Coverage Premium Assistance Program. And basically, it's a, has Commissioner of Agriculture who would help basically cover margins for dairy assistance, dairy producers. The testimony before our committee was that we're losing a dairy farm, I believe it was every 3 or 4 days. And I'm looking in the audience for a helping hand, but because I'm not in the dairy business myself. But this would set up a dairy producer margin coverage premium assistance program to help cover this cost. I actually have a budget amendment in for this. I believe it was $2 million with the possibility of going lower.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
Fiscal notes say $5 million, at least $5 million.
Jason, could you address that?
Madam Chair, the published fiscal impact statement from VDAX does indicate that based on their survey of dairy farmers and the margin program, that the cost would be $5 million because it's a by right reimbursement to the dairy farmer.
Madam Chair, I would move that we put the clause on the bill.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Put the clause on, and seconded, the clause be put on the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, the clause is on.
Okay, there is money in the budget for it, so if it's not enough, then we'll have to deal with that.
It's a request? Okay. Okay, so in any event, is there a motion to report as amended? It's been moved and seconded, the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, vote aye. Okay,
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported.
Seems like a lot.
Okay. Boy, I thought we were almost done, but I've got all these bills that are our own. Gee. All right, so let's go. Okay, Senator Spruill.
Madam Chair, Senator Spruill's bill, Senate Bill 48, relates to discriminatory actions, the prohibition of those for non-payment of wages. It prohibits employers from discharging or otherwise discriminating against any employee because the employee has filed a complaint or instituted any proceeding related to the failure of paying wages or has testified in any such proceeding. The aggrieved employee may have filed a complaint with the Commissioner of Labor, who is authorized to proceed against an employer on behalf of the employee, and available remedies and reinstatement and recovery of lost wages and an additional amount equal to lost wages as liquidated damages. This was reported from Commerce and Labor, 14 yes, 0 no, but there is a fiscal impact of about $227,000 general fund per year.
Okay. It's been moved that the clause be put on and seconded. All in favor of adding the clause, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second? And seconded, the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported. Okay.
Yeah, so they have one of the companion.
Okay. Senator Barker, you have Senate Joint Resolution 18. It's the constitutional amendment on the redistricting commission.
Yes, Madam Chair. What I have is the constitutional amendment, which we passed last year, but it has to be passed again this year to get on the ballot. And it's Senate Joint Resolution 18. There is basically the provision that would be that if it passes again this year in the General Assembly, then it will go to referendum in November, and there is money in the budget to be able to cover the cost of that referendum.
Any questions for Senator Barker? Is there a motion on the resolution? It's been moved and seconded that the resolution be reported. All in favor, record your vote.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. Bill's reported. Resolution's reported.
And the next one is Senate Bill 236, which is the voter referendum. The cost of operating the election in November is already covered in the budget. What this would do is there would be a minor cost of less than $100,000 for providing public information related to the constitutional amendment with signs and, various things that would be done there. So that's what is incorporated here.
Are there questions for Senator Barker?
Move the bill be reported.
It's been moved that Senate Bill 236 be reported.
Second.
And seconded. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
And if you
The
want-
bill's reported.
And if you want me to cover it, I can do Senate Bill 203, which is Senator Lucas's bill. This is the one providing the whole framework for the commission being set up and everything. So that, and there is basically I think an indeterminate amount that would be required to be able to just staff the commission that would be operating. A modest amount.
So are there questions on this? Is there a motion?
Bill be reported.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 203 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye, opposed nay.
Fifteen ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. The bill's reported. Senator Eben, I just am trying to catch up. So the Barker bills, the other ones are done. Okay, Senator Eben.
Okay, so SB 2 is marijuana decriminalization, as recommended by the Courts Committee. What this does is it takes the 30,000 or so people who are arrested each year in Virginia for small amounts of possession of marijuana, and it instead provides for a $50 civil offense. And that's the crux of the bill. I don't know if there are questions.
Are there questions? I'm trying to find the fiscal notes. It doesn't have a. Indeterminate.
Madam Chairman, there would be
Yes.
some foregone revenue from the shift of the penalty and some indeterminate increase to civil fines. It's not a cost of implementation. It is consistent with Senate budget language policy from last year and legislation that has passed the Senate multiple times.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
I move to report.
It's been moved that the bill and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
12 ayes, 3 nays.
12 ayes, 3 nays. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I've got one more.
Okay, Senator Eben.
SB 838, which deals with wage theft. I think people know that wage theft is when employers just don't pay employees. And this would allow people to take civil action of the CNBC's 10 best states for business in 2019. 9 of them have a private right of action law for those who just don't pay their employees. This happens a lot in the construction industry. Subcontractors often reincorporate or even declare bankruptcy to avoid paying wages. And the lack of consequences for the general contractors that knowingly hire cheating subcontractors in order to cut costs and underbid honest employers allows the bad actors to erode area wages and standards. Also, there's misclassification as part of this, where they don't take payroll taxes out, pay people in cash. And right now, our only...
Senator Eben, I believe it only has a $50,000 Woodrum impact.
Let me rephrase
so
my
it's-
remarks. Just as a $50,000 impact.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved. Is there a second to report? And seconded that Senate Bill 838 be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye.
15 ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. The bills are reported. That completes yours, Senator Eben, I believe? Yes. Okay. We could go back to Senator McClellan's bill. I think that's been worked out.
I think so, Madam Chair. So again, here, the bill would authorize the governor to purchase this property in an amount up to $2.5 million. There is a budget amendment. My understanding is they probably are going to spend less than that. And then once the land is purchased, it would be conveyed to the Chickahominy tribe.
Was that an amendment, or that's just the bill?
That's the
as
bill,
original-
yeah.
As originally done, okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I don't have anything specifically. I may ask April, and it's akin to the capital projects we have, but it seems like we've got to put an amendment on there, you know, so that it would be somehow handled through general services with some kind of market evaluations and what have you. It's a little bit complicated, or is there's something else going on I'm not aware of
Well,
here?
Madam Chair.
Senator McClellan and then Senator Norman.
Let me try. Madam Chairman, I'm going to abstain on the ultimate vote, but under the rules of the Senate, it doesn't preclude me from discussing it. And I would say that this is a transaction that does not need to go through DGS. It's going to be a ready, willing, and able buyer from a ready and willing and able seller. And I believe a senator has put in a budget amendment that would cover this, and both the potential purchaser and the potential seller have come to an agreement in concept on the terms.
Yes.
On that, and we are just trying to work a vehicle through the budgetary process based upon discussions with the governor. And so I would hope we would not give any thought to going to DGS because the chief of the Chickahominy Indians and this senator will be in their graves before it's done.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
My
Senator.
only question, since it has the sum in it, is whether or not we as a committee, which we have that say, we should go ahead and commit ourselves to funding that line item right now, or whether we want to put the,
Okay, so we have, I believe, a motion to report.
Yes.
And a second. We have not adopted her substitute? Wait, we need to adopt this.
Okay, yes, we should, I move to adopt the substitute.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And Madam Chair,
Opposed?
I move that we report the bill.
It's been moved, and is there a second to report the bill?
Second.
And seconded that we report the bill. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no.
15 ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
15 ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention. The bill's reported. Okay. Now we will go back, Senator Locke. I'm trying to go alphabetically, by the way, through the committee. Senate Bill 880. We did it in the block. Oh, goody. Those were in the block. And we've done Senate Bill 36. How about Senate Bill 949? Senate Bill 949, Senator Lucas?
Yes. Let me find my right piece of paper, Madam Chair. 949, I mixed that piece of paper up. Yes, ma'am, I have it now.
Okay.
Madam Chair, the intent of the bill, of course, is to improve how victims of sexual assault and abuse receive care and treatment in Virginia. By one, expanding the type of participants invited to meetings developed to improve care for victims, and two, decreasing the likelihood of victims having to pay for their own care after being assaulted, and three, addressing issues with billing and reimbursement for forensic nursing services. Need I go on, Madam Chair?
No, I'm just curious. I'm looking at the fiscal notes, that's all. So the governor's budget has money for this?
Yes, ma'am. The governor did put money in the budget for this legislation.
Is there an amendment for this legislation? It's been moved. Is there a second that the clause be put on it? And seconded the clause be put on it. All in favor of the clause, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded?
Second.
And seconded that Senate Bill 949 be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Opposed, no?
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. Okay. Bills
Madam Chair, I
reported.
have a second bill.
Do?
We already dealt with 202.
We've already did it. It's
Oh, you did it
reported.
while I was going to the restroom?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We took care of it.
Okay, Senator Marsden, you have Senate Bill 219.
The clause. This bill requires that the Department of Motor Vehicles will ask qualified voters over the age of 17 if they would like the required information to register to vote to be sent to the Department of Elections and to be forwarded to local registrars to determine their eligibility to vote. It's an opt-out as opposed to an opt-in, Madam Chair, so that, but people will be asked the question. They'll be required to be advised it's a felony to give false information. And it will just allow for an efficient way to update their voter registration at the same time they're updating their DMV information. And it's a good way to get people to vote, get them out, get them on the voter rolls. And
Madam Chair, the notes say we're going to have, the patron's going to offer a substitute. Do we have a substitute to this, or?
I think there is. Okay, sorry, there is a substitute, but that is what the bill.
Well, I'll move the substitute.
It's been moved and I hope seconded. And seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, record your vote aye.
Aye.
Say aye, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Any opposed?
3-2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Substitutes adopted.
There is a one-time cost, Madam Chair, of $143,000. This, so it would need the clause applied to it.
Okay, so
Madam
it's, yes.
Madam Chair, I wonder if Senator Morrison could explain what the difference is between this bill and the bill that was in the, that passed out of the Privileges and Elections Committee.
This was passed out of Privileges and Elections. There was
we-
another one involving 16-year-olds pre-registering to vote.
But I'm talking about this is a new substitute in this committee. I would just wonder what's different between this bill in the substitute form and the bill that passed out of the Privileges and Elections Committee.
So, Madam Chair and
Yes.
Senator Marsden, the introduced version required DMV to request specific information like name and date of birth. The substitute leaves it general and says it's any information required by the State Board of Elections.
Okay.
The introduced version required the Department of Elections to hold for transmittal information for people under 18. The substitute takes this out, and then it deletes language about the Department of Elections having to use the information transmitted to update the voters' registration records. Those are the differences.
Are there further questions?
Madam Chair,
Senator
question
Barker.
of the patron. Would DMV be able to implement this by July 1, or do we need to do a delayed enactment date?
I believe in the original bill, they did not request additional time.
Did not request this time. All right, thank you.
Yes.
It required 130 hours, I believe.
Madam Chair, Tram Nguyen with New Virginia Majority. Just to clarify some of the amendments. The amendments took out the requirement that the State Board of Elections had to retain applications and just make sure that they automatically transmit them to the general registrars for processing. Because under the National Voting Rights Act, you can't hold on to voter applications. And it actually removes the FIS. And I believe the Department of Elections might have sent over a note to staff saying that these amendments would actually get rid of the fiscal impact of the bill. So so just wanted to clarify that.
The figure we have is 143,000.
Yes, because under the introduced draft, if the Department of Elections had to hold on to those applications and update Veris, that system, it would cost the $143,000 because they are no longer holding on to any applications and transmitting them to the general registrars as they come in, as they currently are doing. Then it gets rid of that fiscal impact statement.
So, Madam
Okay,
Chair, your testimony is the fiscal impacts removed with the amendments?
I believe so, and in working with the Department of Elections to suggest those amendments, that is what we came up with. And I don't know if, I believe Jessica might have sent over an email stating.
Okay, let me ask Adam.
Yeah, I was unaware.
Sorry.
Adam,
All right, Madam Chair, I'm looking at the substitute, or the fiscal impact statement for the substitute, and it indicates that there is a $143,000 general fund impact in FY '21.
You know, if we put the calls on it, then if in fact the fiscal impact's gone, we can figure that out between now and the time the budget is adopted, it seems to me. So
Okay.
I'd move the calls.
the clause has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. The bill be reported as amended. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Fifteen ayes, 1 nay.
15 ayes, 1 nay. The bill is reported. Senator Marsden, you have 891.
890.
We already
We
did
already
that.
dealt with
That was in the block.
This is
Okay.
219, I still have.
918,
219,
we did that. We just did that.
the industrial
So
hemp.
918 has not been done yet, I don't think.
918,
We did that in the block.
that's good.
Okay, that
918.
completes yours then. Senator McClellan, Senate Bill 97.
That was done. Oh, okay.
Yes, Senate Bill 97 is a bill that basically applies the unlawful housing practices, discrimination on various basis to local land use decisions by a locality, as well as says that a locality cannot discriminate cannot deny an application for land use decision based solely on the fact that a certain number of units will be affordable. This is a bill that was heard last year and passed the Senate. It did not have a fiscal impact statement last year. It did get one this year, but my understanding is that some bills that impact this section received a fiscal impact statement from the OAG saying they would need to hire someone else, and others did not. So it is unclear to me whether they need to hire people or not, because again, on the bill that passed the Senate today, amending the same section, there was no fiscal impact, and there was no indication they needed to hire anybody to enforce that bill, and yet on this one, there was. So I don't know if there's a real fiscal impact or not. And that's the bill.
Okay. We were going to suggest it be carried over with a letter to the Housing Commission to review this. Yes?
Madam
You
Chair,
can absorb that? Okay.
I'm sorry? If that's the will of the body, I mean, this passed the Senate last year with no fiscal impact. And
Madam Chair, that is troubling, but there's no question we've got a fiscal impact now that says we're going to have to hire 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I would welcome a motion to carry it over and send a letter to the Housing Commission to look at this. This is Senate Bill 97. It's been moved and seconded.
Madam Chair.
Senator McClellan.
I guess my preference would be that we pass it with the clause to give me time to confer with the Attorney General's office to understand why they need to hire people for this bill, but not for all of the other bills that amend the same section.
Yes. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, and I would make substitute motion to amend the bill to add the clause and then report it.
Is there a second to that? It's been moved and seconded that the, well, I guess we need the clause. Have we
Yes.
moved the clause? No, no.
I would ask that we add the clause.
Yes, okay, so that was like two motions in one.
Sorry,
Okay, it's been moved that the clause be added. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the clause is added.
And now I move we report the bill.
And now the motion is to report the bill as amended. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay. Okay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. Have we done 793?
I don't believe so.
Okay. 793.
Senate Bill 793 would make those individuals who were convicted after parole was abolished, but before the Supreme Court of Virginia's decision in Fishback versus Commonwealth, eligible for parole. When parole was abolished, the idea was that we would move to truth in sentencing, but there was a window in time where juries were not informed that parole was not an option, and the Supreme Court of Virginia ruled that juries should have been so informed. This bill has no fiscal impact.
Move to report.
It's been moved. Is there a second to report? And seconded to report. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is reported. Okay, Senator McClellan. 1075.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1075 increases notice requirements for projects that require, for decisions, I'm sorry. Senate Bill 1075 extends the notice and comment period for Air Board and Water Board decisions that would impact a community where that project would go. I don't believe it has a fiscal impact. It looks like the introduced budget had already money for 18 additional employees and communication efforts in DEQ. I don't believe there was a fiscal impact, but to the extent there is a fiscal impact, it would be covered.
April?
Madam Chair, Senator McClellan, the introduced budget does contain $2.7 million general fund each year to support 19 additional employees, though to the degree you didn't choose to fund that in the budget, you would be leaving a hole related to the bill.
Yes, so we will need a clause on that.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded the clause be added to Senator McClellan's bill. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1075 be reported. All in favor, vote aye. You're not working?
16 ayes, 0 nays.
15 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is reported. Senator Norman, you have Senate Bill 608.
Yes, ma'am. Senate Bill 608 is the expungement bill. A number of bills have been introduced this session dealing with expungement, and they rolled them all into my bill. I guess I wasn't there. And so they rolled them into my bill. And what it provides is basically three approaches to expungement. One deals with a simple pardon. The individual who gets a simple pardon must have been on good behavior for 5 years without any violations prior to the petition, and it would exclude anyone who had been convicted of a violent felony. The second group of expungements deals with convictions and violations of purchasing or possession alcohol or marijuana or underage possession of tobacco. It has to be You have to be under 21 on the date of the conviction. All court costs and fines must have been paid, and at least 5 years must have passed since the completion of the terms of your sentencing and probation. The last provision is dealing with violation of purchasing or possession alcohol or marijuana or other controlled substance. The charge must have been dismissed or discharged. Discharge is an archaic term that we use in the practice of law, which means that you were placed on the First Offenders Act, and that at the end of the First Offenders Act, that the charge against you was discharged with a finding of other than not guilty. Court costs have to be paid in another 5-year period, and
Madam Chair,
that's all the bills
the
roll.
fiscal notes say there's no fiscal impact, except there might be a positive impact from this legislation.
correct.
That's right.
So I would move to report.
Moved and seconded, the bill be reported. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no. The bill is reported unanimously. Okay, you do? Okay. Oh, okay.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The only other bill I have is Senate Bill 908, and there's been a lot of discussion during this session about what is euphemistically referred to as gray machines or games of skill. I prefer to think of them as gray machines. There's been a lot of talk about it, but the bottom line is that Senate Bill 908 represents the approach that Madam Chairman and I have taken, and basically it would ban gray games or games of skill in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I won't bore you with all of the reasons. Into what?
What bill is this?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, that's what I.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. We are talking about the Senator Norman's bill previously was rolled into my bill. They were the same
I
anyway.
apologize.
But I have a question. Has that been reported?
Yeah, we did.
I thought so. Okay, it's been reported.
Well,
Okay.
you took my bill.
Aw. Senator Peterson, Senate Bill 31, has that been reported already? No, okay.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 31 had to do with an eminent domain bill we passed out last year. It deals with a very esoteric subject called drawdown petitions. There were some amendments from the Court of Justice Committee or Judiciary Committee. Basically just says that where VDOT or a state agency or locality takes land and pays money into the court, and if you as a landowner, you file a drawdown petition to recover those funds, you do not have to pay a filing fee. I don't think there's any fiscal impact on the state whatsoever.
Apparently, VDOT says they can absorb those costs.
Right.
Move to report.
There we go.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 31 be reported. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no.
I'm a yes.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays, the bill's reported. The 206, I believe, has been reported.
Yep, that's true.
Okay, so Senator Ruff, 552.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I don't think there should be any fiscal impact. This deals with regional alternative education programs. When the program was set up, each program was assigned a set number of slots. Each year they come back and ask if they've used them all, and they all say, yes, they have. And so they just keep, this does not add any slots to it, but it actually ask the Department of Education to look at what the real needs are. If some of them have changed in the last 20 years to 110%, and some of them may change to 200%. But it would be a better reading of what's actually needed out there.
Does staff have a comment on this?
Yes, Madam Chair. The Department of Education is unsure what the language is intending, but I think Senator Ruff is looking at the number of slots would be re-benchmarked based on the current needs of the school divisions. It's not currently clear in the budget or the language of this bill, and you could submit a letter to the department or put it in budget language to ask them to look at that in the future.
Okay.
It doesn't make any
Apparently-
difference which way we
Do
do
it.
it, but I think that they ought to be looking at it and saying, yes, there is a greater need, so we need to come back to the General Assembly and say this is where we need to put money.
Let's go with the approach of budget language.
That,
Is that,
that would be fine. Yeah.
okay. But we will do budget language.
Okay.
Let's just leave it kindly here. Senator Ruff, you have 1014. We've done that? Okay. Boy, now we are getting close to the end. Okay, Senate Bill 8, Senator Sasslaw. Yep, you do. Senate Bill 8, do you want to start with that? So we've done. We've done 557 Vogel's electronic student thing, but what about 534? We did that.
We can add it.
Senator Sasslaw, it turns out you're the last three.
Okay. If you
I
approve them all
hope.
in a block, we can get out of here in a hurry. The first, these bills all have come from Commerce and Labor. First one is the prevailing wage rate. And an awful lot of states have this prevailing wage, including right-to-work states. And what this does is it essentially contractors, you know, in the letting of contracts, they would have to use the wage, the prevailing wage that the Department of Labor, I think at the federal level, has set up. And it would be the rates themselves would be set in conjunction with the federal government by the Commissioner of Labor and Industry here in Virginia. And, you know, one of the reasons that I put that in is, number one, it's more tax dollars for the state, obviously. But people ask me, well, you know, isn't this going to increase the cost of contracting at the state level? And probably it will, but maybe not. And I will tell you that our experience in Northern Virginia has certainly, you know, we've done better when we've gotten the best labor and not the cheapest labor. And, you take a look at some of these projects in Northern Virginia, and I mean, they've overrun the contract cost by numerous, money that it overruns that the federal government doesn't have. They have them sometimes on defense R&D contracts, but, the Pentagon, as an example, came in, paying the Davis-Bacon Act, came in under budget. And like I said, what it does is it lifts people up economically. We shouldn't be looking to try to get these jobs done with the cheapest possible labor we can find. And paying the prevailing wage will even things out, between various regions. That's number one, even though, it will allow for perhaps a different rate in Wise County than in Arlington. You attract far higher skilled labor when you're doing that. And in the long run, you may even wind up saving money. 27 states currently have prevailing wage laws, and of course, Virginia is not one of them. October 2019, a study by Pinnacle Economics at a minimum, a prevailing wage law annually would add 1,154 jobs to the Virginia economy, generate $132.6 million more in income for Virginia workers, and produce $8 million more in state income tax. So that's essentially why, we're doing that. And like I said, the trend is towards prevailing wage. Interestingly enough, West Virginia repealed theirs, and it wound up costing way more than recently built. I think it was public school, wound up costing more money than it had when they had the prevailing wage. So, because of all the problems that occurred when you didn't get the same skilled labor. So anyway, this is why this is why I put the bill in.
Are there questions for Senator Sasslaw?
Chairman.
The amendments on PLA.
Senator Norman.
Madam Chair, is there's a
Uh,
threshold? Oh,
I'm sorry, Senator Norman.
Oh, my bad.
Then you.
Senator Sasslaw,
Sure.
why do we not just leave this to the free market and let it compete? Because I categorically reject that we're going to, in every instance, get better skilled labor on these contracts. It may be true in Northern Virginia, but it ain't true in Southwest Virginia or Southside. Why do we not leave it to the market?
Well, I don't know. I just don't think the state benefits by trying to find the cheapest labor they can. And that's the argument for not doing this.
Okay.
By the way, there's a $250,000 threshold on the prevailing wage. In other words, wouldn't apply to contracts under $250,000.
Madam Chair.
Senator Norman and Senator Peterson.
Madam Chairman, the only people, excuse me,
Dave.
the only people that have benefited for that is organized labor. And when we heard this in Commerce and Labor, not one person other than organized labor, including those from Washington and Baltimore, spoke in favor of this. And this is just a nod to organized labor. Would you be willing to restrict it to Planning District 8?
No.
That's an answer.
You asked, I told you.
I got it.
Madam Chair.
Peterson.
Madam
Okay,
Chair.
Senator Evans.
Just really briefly, and I want to respond to Senator Norman. There's this saying, you pay cheap, you get cheap. You pay for quality projects, you get quality projects the first time. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Madam
Is there
Chair.
someone else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Senator Edwards.
The way I understand this, it's the prevailing wage in the planning district. It's not one statewide plan.
Right, and the Department of Labor and Industry will coordinate that with the federal government.
So,
the wages that determined by the Davis-Bacon Act.
Madam Chair, the other thing about that is, in other words, in Southwest Virginia, it's likely to be lower.
It's likely to be lower anyway.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, isn't the only thing, just since it's got a commerce and labor, isn't the only thing we have to deal with is impact of $102,000 or something like that?
We put an amendment, Senator Marsden offered an amendment that this would apply to contracts more than $250,000. The average, as an example, we were told that the average maintenance contract by VDOT is slightly over $2 million, and the average construction contract is slightly over $7 million. Yeah. This would kick in at $250,000.
Madam Chair, the
Senator Edwards.
fiscal impact is what, 102,000?
102 for them to monitor. It's 100,000.
Yeah, that's all we're talking about here.
Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When Fairfax County expanded its jail, of course, it just went to a low bidder. They flew all the workers in from South Carolina, put them up on the job site in trailers, and hired a team of lawyers to make a big deal out of any kind of change order you can possibly imagine to drive the cost of the job up. It was a low-ball bid. They had to plan to deal with it, and that's the kind of stuff that you get when you don't use project labor. It was a very expensive job.
The same stunt took place on the mixing bowl. It was supposed to be, I think, 560 million, came in at 830 million. And they hired a ton of lawyers, you know, got the cheapest labor they could. Yeah, it was good for you all. But, you know, you're not saving any money in the long run. They said, in fact, the cost is indeterminate, and it is.
Well,
Senator
Madam Chair,
Deed.
the fiscal notes say there's a $102,000 cost on it, so I'd move the clause.
It's been moved and seconded, the clause be put on the bill.
I'm hoping that we can find the $100,000
Yeah,
in the budgetary.
I would hope.
Yeah, okay.
I would really scrounge to find it if needed.
We'll find it.
Senator
All in
Norman will
favor
help.
of putting on? All in favor of adding the clause, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Madam
Clause
Chair.
is added. Senator
I
Deeds.
move the report.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no.
With that, I want you all to observe that Senator Norman's no vote.
11 ayes, 5
works.
nays.
11 ayes, 5 nays. The bill's
It works
reported.
on the bills where it's an appropriate vote.
Okay, Senator Sasslaw, you also have Senate Bill 182.
182 is project labor agreements. My bill basically does, is it repeals the Comstock law, which essentially prohibited on state contracts, not P3s, but state contracts. This repeals it, and it allows local governments to do it as well. And again, you know, the mixing bowl was non-project labor. The hot lanes have all come in under budget and ahead of schedule, okay? And they've been project labor agreements.
Are there questions? Yes, Senator Norman.
Senator Sasslaw, do I understand this is permissive language on this?
It says they may enter into it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions?
The basic thing is it repeals it at the state level.
Right.
It does allow it does not mandate it. They can
Senator-
require it, but they don't have
I
to.
move we report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 182 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
12 ayes, 4 nays.
12 ayes, 4 nays, the bill's reported. And you have one more bill, Senator Sasslaw, 939.
Jill, why don't you let her vote on this one? All right. I might get a different result. I might get a different result. The final one is, provides and allows for collective bargaining for, you know, local government employees. The constitutional officers asked to be exempted out of this, and we did. They are exempted out. And again, it is permissive. It's not mandated. I think it's 47 states currently allow for collective bargaining. So, I mean, we're not, you know, doing anything that's, you know, hasn't been done all over America. And again, it's permissive. Local governments, it doesn't apply to the state government, but it does apply. Local governments may enter into this.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Edwards.
it doesn't apply to businesses either.
No,
Yeah, and it only applies to local governments.
only local government. Yeah,
And-
I do include school.
Yeah, and
school
it
boards.
doesn't apply, again, you mentioned to constitutional
And
officers.
there's no striking.
And Madam Chair, it also, you have to
Let's
have.
not have a running
They
questioning here.
There has to be an ordinance passed by the local government to do.
They would
that.
have to, yes,
Okay.
right.
Okay, Senator Marsden.
He answered I was going to
Okay.
remind him about the no strike, and he took
Okay,
care of it.
is there,
Madam Chair,
Senator?
I move to report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
11 ayes, 5 nays.
11 ayes, 5 nays. The bill's reported. I believe that completes our docket for today. Thank you, committee. You have done absolutely yeoman work. Just a reminder, we probably will have to meet on Monday, but it's just for bills that are coming up to us from Commerce and Labor, and about 6 or 7 bills we passed by for the day. Committee